We are live. For me, it's been a month. Pat, it's been a while since we've talked. Joe, it's good to be back here. We've got a big guest. Hey, thanks for everybody coming.
Woo! Yeah. Do it.
Pat, did you know while I was gone, Joe has Sean Murphy and Jeff Thorne on as guests. He winds up having the best show.
Hey, congrats, man.
Yeah.
Stealing the platform.
That's the way it goes.
It was a lot of fun. And the nice thing was that Sean didn't hold back and put me on the spot with a few questions. So
that's good.
Well, that was good. Hold on. What questions now I got to ask?
He was just like straight up. Anyone ever like give you shit for like being on Perch's show? Like just straight up. It was great. I appreciate that. Are we live?
We're live, yes.
Oh, hey everyone.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're live. It's been a month for me. Again, it's a long time. I was drinking plenty before we got on the air. There's new Pokemon out.
Great.
True. Have you been catching?
I have. I've got all the new Pokemon.
Hey, there you go. That little I shouldn't say little. Phalanx takes up the whole screen, dude.
Yes, they're weird. The models are strange now. We've lost the audience, but yes, I'm attached to. I've got Pat as a friend on Pokemon, so I feel like I'm there.
There you go.
It's a mission accomplished. That's where we're at.
But that's something we should bring up this week. Mission accomplished. That's.
Has anything happened? I don't know. Globally, has it been weird? I don't know.
You didn't hear? There's no more porn on OnlyFans.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. Yeah, that's a shame. What are they going to do there?
I guess what do? You just look at naked people? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because you said that we'll get to it, but they do allow like nudity. They just don't allow sex now. So, all the whack accounts are going to be fine now. You know?
So you basically have to just sit there looking innocuous on OnlyFans.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be a mix of it's going to be all that weird stuff. Like how, oh God, you know what? I haven't had enough to drink yet to go into that. So,
yeah.
What are you drinking, Joe? And are you drinking anything, Pat?
I am drinking some 1857 potato vodka blue. For all of you who are gluten intolerant, potato vodka, gluten free. And I put in a little bit of sparkling water and
that makes it classy. Yeah,
some little bit of lime, but I'm keeping the bottle next to me because I might need more.
Good call. Pat, you got anything you're drinking tonight?
Yeah, I'm drinking that main favorite, the Poland Spring. I once moved to California, and while there, they had Deer Park water instead of Poland Spring.
Oh, fuck that!
It was a bad time for me, dude. So now
that
back at it.
Fucking nasty ass deer water. Are you kidding me?
That's garbage.
It's gonna be like ticks in there. It's nasty. No, it is not.
I completely destroyed my liver the entire time I was out. But I also have to point out that there's a lot of shows now popping up saying they're like drink and draw and drink and talk and drinking comics and everything else. I came in the middle of this, so I'm not claiming they copied me, but I watch these things and nobody's really drinking. Joe's got a freaking bottle there that he's going through. These guys have
with Spider-Man on it because this is a comic show.
That's right.
I'm trying to, because we're gonna maybe talk about comics after we talk about OnlyFans and Cabal, right? Then we'll get to comics.
How was the weekend? Well, I should do this. So Joe brought this to my attention. I don't know. Does this make you feel old or just shitty?
Just shitty.
I'd say old for me, dude. I think about, I think about death and age so often. My mind is always drawn to the idea that we're only here for a short time and we don't know what happens next. And dude,
it's okay.
Scary stuff.
All right, hang on. I got to drink some more.
Yeah, bringing that mood down real quick. But yeah, When I was running my podcast, which will be back at some point soon, ish.
Excellent.
One of the questions I always felt compelled to ask people is like, are you afraid of death? What happens after you die? And that question comes to mind when I'm looking at this. It says we're now closer to Marvel 2099 than we are to 1939's Marvel Comics 1. Though at the same time, you know what? 39 seems crazy old,
It does. It absolutely does. And I also like it. One thing I found funny, I was looking into, I for whatever reason, I was recently looking into Marvel Comics #1. Did you know they canceled Marvel Comics they canceled it. Marvel Comics #1, when it came out, there was a lot of disappointment in the comic, and they actually canceled the comic after #1 and were planning to reboot it. But then it sold better than expected, so they kind of pushed it along. But I feel like that was the harbinger of what Marvel would be.
Yeah, that's didn't they change it to Marvel Mystery or whatever it is right after that?
Changed it around. I just love that they relaunched it after one issue, and that is Marvel's legacy right there.
That sure is.
It's been a minute since I read that, but holy shit. Like I love that like first story, that like Human Torch story where he's just boiling people alive and he's just like murdering people left and right. It's like, what the fuck is
how heroes
going on
dude.
here?
Let's go.
It's such a fucking crazy comic. I love it. And then there's just all this like the Angel and all that shit. It's weird.
It's good stuff. We should look at that comic at some point. Fun's
the wrong word, but
why the fuck do people say it's pre-recorded when we're clearly putting your comments up on the screen? This is live. What are you talking about, you are? We are live. And this is a bunch of garbage, Green. I know you were buying that issue off the stands back then.
That was during the brief period of time where Eric decided he was too old for comics.
Fair enough.
That's
fair enough. Yeah. Okay. So you're closer to death. I mean, goddamn. I guess do you have this thing where you go on an airplane? Because I've been flying on a plane a lot lately, and when I was younger, I remember being on the plane like, man, I hope this thing doesn't go down. And now I'm like, I had a good run.
Yeah, dude.
That's what I do now.
Oh man, I mean, now since back when I was exclusive to Zenescope, I would be flying out to cons all the time because they were already going and they had a certain amount of flights that they would do. Now that I am an independent contractor, right? I'll just drive to the cons over here, so I'm flying a lot less. But when I was flying a lot more, my fear of flying, it's not that pronounced, but the thought that, wow, I'm flying so much more that my odds of having a situation, right, are dramatically increasing. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've gone absolutely the other direction. I'm like, I've flown enough flights now. I'm good. If it
also just to address Breen's comment, that's fair.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, Breen. It's been weird. I got to be on a private plane though. That's a different experience.
Ooh, how was that?
Well, it's funny because you get on. It's like when you get on before the door shut. Everybody is like, okay, there's safety requirements, there's seatbelts, there's things. And then when the door shuts, it's like, okay, fuck that. Do you want a bottle? What would you like? Just walk around, whatever you want to do. You want to jump up and down while we're taking off? It's okay.
How many seats?
12. I want to say 12.
This man's Drake.
It's nice.
That's crazy.
It was nice. Yeah.
That's one thing I would definitely like to do. Just no private helicopters. I'm definitely never going to do that shit. But plane, I one day aspire to be rich enough to, go on a private jet. That'd be sick.
It was an interesting experience. It definitely, it's now, I mean, now I can't go on. I mean, I go on commercial now and I had a flight after that and I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I doing here? I can't get out and just wander around, go into the cockpit. It's what's going on. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, my youngest brother has flown in a private jet before. Because he's out in LA, so they'll just go to Vegas on a private jet.
Damn.
It's an experience. Anyway, what the hell?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's also not in comics, funny enough. So
that's funny how that works. Yeah. That's that.
It's speaking of sobering
Well,
thought.
if you're joining us now, Pat Shan, Joe Corallo, we've got new books. So, Pat, you made this announcement. What is the School of X? What is this book? You're part of the X-Men Slack now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. School of X. It's an anthology for Professor Xavier's Institute. It's my story I should speak on is about Phoebe Cuckoo. She I'm not sure how much I should say because they didn't really get into the details there, but she has a situation where she is severed in some way and has an experience where she's separate from her sisters with whom she normally shares a psychic bond. And that leads her down a path towards self-discovery and some body horror action as she begins to ponder what this connection to her sisters means, what it'll be if she loses one of them, and how it feels to be a person who is on her own whole, but also is wholly part of them.
All right, that sounds deep, and that sounds deep for X-Men. I thought you were just supposed to have them like dealing with some plants and just kind of fucking on the island.
Oh boy. Yeah, thanks to them for getting me on board. Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
This is done through it's the parent company is Asmodee, and the I actually don't know how to say the company's name. Aconite, I think. I think it's Aconite. Okay. And they do Marvel novels, and they have a whole line of novels coming out. And this one is an anthology of shorts, novellas, with each one focusing on a student from the institute. And mine. I originally pitched for Nature Girl, and they liked the story, but thought it would be better applied to Phoebe. So I began to, just tweak here and there, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad that's your reaction because I did put a lot of thought into this because, I've written Marvel novels before. I've written whole novels for Thor, Avengers, Iron Man, and Guardians. But this was my first time with any X-Men characters. And I'm aware of how intense and invested this fan base is in those characters. So there was definitely, I had a desire to make the story entertaining on its own, and also something that the fans can remember if they want to read this book, because it's it's a lot to ask a comics fan base to read prose when these characters normally exist in the comics. So I wanted to do something pretty special here.
It sounds good. I mean, so when does this come out?
That's coming out December, I believe, the 7th, but I'm not 100% sure. But
all right, just in time for Christmas. Yeah,
exactly.
So if you got some people who are like, ages 5 to 8, you definitely want to get them this book.
Yeah, I'd say a bit older probably, but, yeah, you know what though?
We got to get you out YA money. Yeah.
As an 8-year-old, I would have loved this kind of stuff because I was I was super into Goosebumps, but then I started to mess around with R.L. Stine's Fear Street, which had some murder action, all that stuff. So I did like the dark stuff pretty early.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like the X-Men comics I read when I was a kid. So I'm anxious. I'm excited to see this. It looks
thanks.
It looks really good. And Joe, you've got Beckstar number 4 coming out this week.
I do.
And I said, as people are commenting on the chat, you got the bisexual lighting that is illuminating this cover.
Which that?
Which is, I guess, purple.
No, it's the colors of the bi flag uses lighting. That's what bisexual lighting is. Anyway,
purple.
It's it's a few shades of colors, but the purple's part of it. But yeah, no, it's coming out. I'm excited for people to check that one out. I was really happy with the third issue, how that ended with that cliffhanger, and I just want people to know who read that we don't address that at all and just keep moving forward.
Perfect. Okay, good. And still there's no scenes of them eating food. Can you spoil that for us?
There's no food.
Oh, wow, shit.
No.
Okay. That's how they keep thin.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the original. It's a lot of running around and shooting and explosions.
I still purple. It's purple.
That cover is so sick.
It's Winnie Boo. Come on.
That's Winnie Boo, huh? She's
Mhm.
yeah, she's so good. She's very, very good. Jesus.
I like how she's like looking off to the left, like, why did the retailer order so many comics right to the next to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's saying there.
Absolutely.
And it's purple. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Here's a question for both of you. You can both write. What does a writer do when the higher ups ask you to do a story, but the writer knows it's a bad idea and it will make the fans mad? Do you do it anyway?
Which higher ups?
Let's say ones with authority.
No, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't.
You don't do the story?
No, because I mean, here's what I learned over time. I'm assuming that they mean editor, that the editor who hired you is doing this.
Yeah, let's say it's Tom Brevoort comes to you and says, "Hey, we're gonna do. You're the new writer for Iron Man, but we're gonna turn him into a talking dog."
Oh. My understanding. Sorry, I thought that that the writer has an idea. The editor says no. My answer there is that you don't do it. But if the editor has a bad idea that they want you to do, yeah, do it. Yeah. If you feel like you can make it work, personally, I'd say do it. I've gotten, I mean, that I never even thought of, because the answer is of course, yeah. I've gotten countless bad ideas from editors. I'd say 60% of the ideas I get from editors are bad. You know, that's, I mean, I've gotten entire concepts for books that are bad.
Yeah,
that's just how it is in comics. Like the editors and the the execs who make these ideas and create these IPs, they aren't creatives. You know,
right.
They hire you to be the creative, to make that bad idea into a good book. You know, I mean, there's also the fact that, like, before execution, any idea that looks good isn't really anything. Like, ideas are nothing. So the idea that an editor hires you for something that's a bad story, the story doesn't exist yet. You can have to just, see if you can make something worthy of what they've given you, even if what they've given you is subpar. But yeah, that's an easy yes for me. Absolutely.
Gotcha. So, like, if the editor says, "Hey, we want you to write Iron Man, but he needs to be a talking dog," and you're like, "Well, that sounds like a terrible idea, but I'll make that talking dog struggle with alcoholism," then you've written an Iron Man story.
Yeah. 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 Just pouring Joe's vodka into the little bowl.
Yeah. Perfect.
I could do an Iron Man talking dog story, and it would be. I mean, there are some Iron Man runs that it would be better than.
Yeah.
More than some, but yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean,
take it over what we get now.
I've only ever said no to one idea that. I mean, that's not true. I've said no to a few ideas, but that's the one that I'm thinking of is just not savable. I was given an idea that was I don't want to say too much because they've hired me for other stuff and I feel bad.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The basic was that it was a priest who was like a Punisher priest. He was killing sinners for their sins, and he was the hero, like the unambiguous. He was the hero, and it's like, oh, that's not that. I can't fucking do that, because like he has a very traditional idea of what a sin is, and that's an idea that goes beyond what you can make work, dude.
Yeah.
So no.
How about you, Joe? And is there a place where you're like, the editor comes to? I mean, there's got to be a bad idea. Like, what's a bad idea? Well, we've done all these bad pitches. So if an editor come to you seriously and is like, let's, what was the one I horrified you with? Like, I did the, we're going to do a Spider-Man story, but the reveal is that Mysterio faked 9/11.
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No, there's a bunch of stories. It really is a case by case basis. If it's one of those things where like they're going to get mad because it goes against it maybe retcon something that, maybe there's a small group that really care about something like that. Like, it might be worth it. It's all you have to. All these decisions are sort of based where you are in your career, what you want to do, how you want to move forward. Because if you're really early in your career, it's like doing that kind of stuff it's like you got to be just a little into your career where you're just taking whatever gig like that and taking ideas that suck. Because if you're just starting out and everyone hates what you're doing, you're screwed.
Right.
And
then become that guy. Yeah.
So it's like, so that depends. And then if you're really far along in your career, you don't give a shit. You're gonna be like, fuck you. What's the next thing I'm doing? So like,
let's say you're early in your career and you're like, I've got a comic idea. Let's have a story set in the future that involves like bestiality and having sex with crystals.
Crystals?
Is this like a Gwyneth Paltrow autobio comic?
Yeah.
Wait, like, I mean, people do that, Yeah. So yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm on board.
Fair enough.
That's a Boundless comic right there.
Oh yeah, look, I'm seeing some comments. I mean,
our love is real. Yeah.
Is it okay if I reply to some of these comments right now?
Absolutely. Yes.
Dude, someone said, Improv, he said, Boundless Comics wasn't that even if you took out the nudity. All right, yeah. Boundless, I've worked for them before, and there's more than nudity in Boundless. Like, I enjoyed working on the stories. I was shocked sometimes by the variants because they put out like 30 or 40 variants per issue, and I don't see them. And then one time I did a signing, and this is so gross. They knew of my situation that I didn't see the variants all the time, because I don't even get my comps from every publisher that I work with. So they gave me a stack of Breathless comics to sign. That's my book through Black Mask. And I was signing each one. I would sign, and at the bottom, I removed the final Breathless, and there was a Boundless cover with a gaping asshole on it.
Yeah.
And I audibly gasped, bro. So yeah, there's more than nudity. So I get them being confiscated. It sucks if you want to read them because I did enjoy working on the stories in there. But yeah.
What if that comic? What kind of lighting did that comic have with the ass? Was it purple lighting? Sorry.
It should have been the bisexual lighting, but instead it was like a kind of like a dark, dingy green.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
Classy. Very nice.
And also, just before we get away from that story, Robert Roberts said, so if the priest was progressive and only killed TERFs, could the idea work? Hey, bro, what you talking about? No. What does that even mean?
It would not work at all. Here's a nice comment, though. Somebody gave Destiny New York a try. Loved it.
Oh, hey, thank you so much.
That's very good. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's swamp ass lighting you're talking about there with the
shout that Fint.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Okay, it's hey, I changed the format around a lot a bit because I don't want to have as many pages, and I was really in admiration of the chat that you did with Sean and Jeff, and there's no slides, you just had a good time.
Yeah.
So this could kind of be background topics, but Pat, we've talked about before, and Joe, you're in making comics, and both of you are making comics and all the rest. August, a ton of comics in August. Wasn't the narrative throughout 2020 that the comic industry was going to shrink and there's going to be fewer comics and there's less to choose from? Wasn't that what everybody was saying?
I think so. But Jesus, the opposite is clearly true. Wow.
Yeah. What in the world happened? I mean, we are living in a world where Marvel actually has come down because they were routinely in the 80s for comics they put out a month. And the one that's shocking, like DC is one comic away from Marvel in terms of what they're putting out every month. And this was a company that last year was laying people off and everything was fucked. And like, what do you even do? Like, there's a lot of comics.
I mean, these numbers surprise me. These numbers make me, have a bit more faith, I guess, in certain companies that I thought were done. I mean, no offense to them. Jesus Christ. I hope none of these editors watch this. But like, I mean, I have no filter anymore, so I'll say it. Like IDW and Dark Horse. IDW gave me my first ever gig. I'm very grateful, but I did not expect to see 7%. Half of Image, half of Marvel. What?
Yeah, 24 books in August by IDW. 24.
That's a lot for IDW.
So much too many for them, I think. Like, what do they do?
I mean, you look at Marvel, DC, and Image. So just those three companies alone, they're putting out more than 150 books a month. Like, how? Like that's a massive amount of books. Like, how many books fit in like one of the short boxes?
Yeah, what happens to people who buy every single Marvel comic? They just live in
broke. You're out of your fucking mind. You should be checked for meth.
Wow.
there's no way you're buying this book.
No, these numberings, wow, so Russian. These numbers surprise me. It surprised me that Boom isn't 10%. It surprises me that Dark Horse is 5%. I thought Dark Horse would be like, -3%. Scout is sick to see. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, at least there's, other, the other one here is the gray there, other 35%, more than a third is by just a bunch of other publishers. It's just it's so many books. And to give you another sense of it here's this. This is next week. So just next week, 141 books coming out. Yeah, I mean, 28 number ones. And then the always the sad part, 8 comics out of the 141, 8 of them are actually past number 50. So it's a short game at this point, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Can you go back to that last slide really quick?
Absolutely, I can.
These numbers are so crazy to me. Hey, Antarctic Press. I just gleeked. I'm so surprised.
Yeah, 14?
14.
Antarctic Press.
Hey man, haven't ever seen 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Bill Williams does Punchline, which is awesome, and I feel like he probably should have stirred up some shit about the Batman situation. That was weird,
for sure.
For sure. And I mean, there's nothing that you can do when there's a big giant, but DC definitely shouldn't have done him like that. But I know that he does that. I don't know what else the company does.
Gold Digger, Ninja High School. I mean, there's a list. It's a lot.
That's 14. Is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
No hate at all to them. I'm just surprised to see numbers that are so close to Boom, because Boom is, I mean, if anything, along with my surprise, I'm impressed that they put out that number of books, because, they've been going on for a long time. I haven't seen them. So for them to get that close to Boom is crazy. They have more than Dynamite, dude.
It's I mean, it's a ton. And again, I'm with you. It's not a like, oh fuck, what are you doing? It is shocking that there's this many books. It's nice, but it is this like, well, I mean, here's a good question. Like, everyone says, make your own comic, just get out there. But the one daunting thing is when you look at a list like this and you look at next week, almost 150 books in 1 week, how does a new creator stand out in that market? It's just,
I mean, my answer is always crowdfunding. I think that, I have to say, I did have a leg up when I first started crowdfunding, because I had already done some direct market work through Zenescope and IDW and Big Dog Inc. So I had people that were interested in my work there following me over. But I will say, there is a distinct limit to how many people will follow you from the DM to the to crowdfunding. So it's not impossible for someone who has built up an online following through doing free webcomics to make that same jump, as if not more effectively. And that's how you do it, because the direct market is for a certain audience. Like these people aren't all on Kickstarter. Kickstarter definitely isn't all in the DM. I've had people who never heard of Destiny New York, after 5 years of doing it, come and support my Kickstarter because they saw the single issues for the first arc in stores this year. I've been doing this shit for 5 years, you know? So I've been as visible as possible on Kickstarter. So that shows, I think, a gap in those markets that people can exploit for sure.
It does. I think you're absolutely right. I think but it just proves that you're going to have to put more of yourself out there, I think. And crowdfunding allows you to do that. If you're just kind of throwing your comic into the mix, I mean, even if, like, once upon a time, you got a comic and you got it sold to one of the publishers and you're like, man, somebody's going to go promote it. It's awesome. But in this world, that's not going to do it. You're going to have to get yourself in the mix.
Yeah, it's true. We and plus, I mean, I'm sure that Joe can speak to this too, but we as creators, when we get gigs, either in comics, for me especially in prose, I am asked to do the lion's share of the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On social, I'm asked to change my signature in my email to have a link for the book. It's like, yeah, we are expected to be visible 24/7, and I think that that's what comics creators don't always understand is like what we're doing now. Like I'm grateful to be on the stream, because this is not only fun to do and, you know, fun to be on the show, that this actively helps me. It helps people see my face, hear my voice, and associate a person with the stories. And that is something that not every comics creator wants to do. And it's limiting because people, you know, there's a limit to how much someone will care about a 5, 4, 3-issue series that's in comic shops for a couple of months versus how much they're willing to invest in a person for a longer period of time.
For sure. No, I'm glad you're here because it's a good time. That's what's good.
Oh, for us. No, but yeah, it sucks. Making comics, getting them out there. Because here's the problem. Not the problem. It's riddled with problems like life. But so few titles get heat. And basically, publishers are throwing shit on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
So you look at stuff like Scout Comics, for example. They got something going with By the Horns.
Yes, yeah.
So, you know, I'm up to date on that. I think that book's great. And this is no fault of the publisher or anyone else involved. But like when you're in a position like that, what are you going to do if you're moving those books and people are excited and engaging you with it, there may be some other books from other people that aren't moving. You know, maybe the first issue does well and then it drops off. And what are you going to do? If you're the publisher, your goal is to still be a publisher tomorrow.
Yes.
Sure.
So you're going to be like, hey, everyone's doing the, you know, checking out By the Hordes. We got to prioritize pushing this book because, you know, let's say, hypothetically speaking, this is not an actual, you know, this is kind of a number, but it's not like a real solid number. Like, let's say a marketing push from publisher, if they really go all in, moves an additional 10% of a product.
Yeah.
Just hypothetically.
Sure.
Do you want to spend that time on a book that's selling 10,000 copies so you can move it to selling 11,000? Or do you want to spend it on a book that's selling 2,000 copies to sell 2,200 copies?
That's a great point.
You know? So a lot of that happens. Like a lot of these books don't end up moving or going anywhere. But this is prose, and this is TV, and this is everything.
It's true.
This is movies. Like you know, just because there's 141 comics coming out next week, how many of those comics move more than 5,000 copies?
Oh, sad numbers, dude.
It gets it, yeah. But that's what it is. And depending on the publisher, and the people involved, that's fine. There are plenty of creators out there that make a decent living selling a comic that moves 5,000 copies because they turn it into a brand, they go to shows, they do store signings, they have additional merch people buy. You can figure something out with that. But there's plenty of books that dip below that. There's plenty of, not plenty, but there's enough that sell over that. Like it's all over the place. And I think sometimes, and this is going into another discussion, we can have this later or not, is there's a lot of people kind of managing other people's success. And they'll look at numbers, they'll do this and that and be like, oh, this isn't doing well, or this isn't doing well. And it's like, well, you might be saying that, but you're comparing, a modest or above average book at Scout Comics to, the highest selling manga in the country. And that's not a fair comparison, things like that.
Yeah, and it is, by the way, it is worth like rolling out here, just as an aside. Though 141 doesn't count Comixology originals, it doesn't count manga shipping, it doesn't count whatever's Substack craziness is going on. By the way, Pat, are we gonna get the announcement of your Substack on this channel tonight?
Oh, dude, I wish. I mean, the stuff they're making, I've heard some crazy numbers. I really have.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy numbers. I've heard from at least one person direct, and the number is not that crazy. So I'm curious.
Ooh,
I'm curious. So
I wonder if it's here too.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some level of tiering. My question is sexually explicit content also banned on Substack, or is all those OnlyFans people moving to Substack?
Well, after that, the Donnie Cates live stream, I'm hoping some of it's banned.
That would be great, but it's also going to change kind of the meaning of Substack. But
true,
oh boy, wow, wow.
There's a few definitions you could go there. You could lean into the sub aspect. You could lean into the stacked aspect. Anyway, what are we? What are we talking about?
Why? If Cates' imprint is what is it? It's dudes with chains.
Or it's kids love chains. Because
they need clothes.
The 90s and Spawn and it's fucking.
Anyway, I don't know, Pat. What do you like? What do you make of? I've talked to Joe about. What do you make of the whole Substack stuff?
I did a little thread on this that I'll go over a little bit. I think that it's going to vary. Less about how the platform itself goes. That I don't know about. I have a theory on how it's going to go as far as how the comics community reacts to it, because they do the same thing over and over and over again. The comics community will react the same way to Substack that they're reacting to Kickstarter. What's interesting that's different about Substack is that there's the idea that Substack is a little bit of an outlier in that it's both a platform that anyone can access and that people are being given grants for. So you have these people on Substack who are being critiqued and having the platform critiqued for having certain views. And then they're being equated to being in the same boat as, say, a James Tanyan, Taiwan. I don't know, dude. Him.
Tiny Onion, is it?
In Taiwan. That's what I'll call him from now on. Yes.
I think that
Sorry, China.
This is great for him. But he's being equated with, people who have free accounts. I could go and have a Substack account. That isn't the same as James's deal, right? So people saying that Substack is platforming something that they disagree with, right?
Yeah.
That I think is a different conversation. That shouldn't be put on the creators who are doing this. It shouldn't be put on Teeny. It shouldn't be put on James. And anyone who is doing it, you're a bitch. Don't do that shit. That's not that isn't on Teeny's conscience, not on James. to put that on them is fuckery and it's jealousy. So right now we're seeing this big wave of jealousy from comics creators toward other comics creators, and they're trying to alienate them from the larger industry by saying Substack as a platform is bad. They sanction bad when really they are Twitter, they are YouTube, they're a platform that anyone could go on to, right?
Yeah.
So it's not fair to put that on creators who are in the same boat as us looking to live in this industry. It's not fucking fair. And what we're gonna see though is, in my opinion, an overall pushback on Substack from the mainstream comics industry. The same way that it happened with Kickstarter. We're going to see it try to be delegitimized. We're going to see publishers get critiqued when they join. We're going to see, for instance, when Archie joined Kickstarter to do their Jughead book.
Oh, that was horrible what they did to Archie.
They were totally derailed. The entire company was just criticized for doing what people who are larger than companies, the dude who does Lady Death, right?
Yeah, Brian Polito. Yeah,
Brian Polito, I'm sure, who runs Coffin Comics. Coffin Comics, I'm sure, is bigger than Archie. You know, it doesn't seem like it is because, you know, it's just Kickstarter and the DM. But look at the numbers. I don't think that Archie can do a fraction of what Coffin Comics does. And Brian doesn't get critiqued because Brian is a guy who runs his own company. Archie's a corporation. But corporations have a hard time making comics now too. So I think that we're going to see, you know, certain companies start Substacks, then get critiqued for it and, you know, be cowardly and pull out. And then later on, we're going to see companies do it again and not the same pushback because by then it'll be more ingrained in comics as a community. And what else, dude?
Well, here's the thing that I'm confused about a little bit is like, okay, so you're going to complain about Substack being a platform that has hateful content on it. And you're angry about that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Twitter, the platform that has zero hateful content whatsoever, and you're going to make that your own and bitch from Twitter.
Yeah.
What are you even fucking doing at that point?
Before we get any further, I just need to say I had a joke before that was I was going to say something. It's ironic that, you know, OnlyFans was also cowardly and pulled out. But wow, whoosh. Wow.
They're strong. Yeah.
Pretty good, man.
But no, thank you. But and also to talk about Archie for a second, who are these idiots who are like, oh, you know, big money bags, billionaire Archie on Kickstarter? Like, how fucking stupid are you to be like, oh, Archie's like all these people were like, Archie's got money. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Like, because that was,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, that was before Riverdale, even. Like, what are you guys doing? And I'm not saying that in a way to disparage Archie, but it's just like
everybody knew that if you worked for Archie, it was free hand jobs, and so that's what they know.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's crazy. But you see that stuff all the time. Like, people are, there's a lot of, I guess it's sort of like, you know, success kind of monitoring and people out there. And it's as if they have like numbers that they're crunching, that they're going like, let me see here. You're slightly too successful to be on Kickstarter, buddy. You better get off. I mean, you can't do anymore on OnlyFans.
You better get off was actually an original slogan for OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Dan, you guys are on a roll with that shit. I like it. I like it.
But no, it's crazy. It's crazy that people are attacking, you know, like, you know, known bigot solid in a bed for being on Substack.
Yes, so weird, so inappropriate, and just so the epitome of this industry. And to me,
it is, yeah.
If you give any one of those creators a problem for that, fuck you, dude. That's, come on, grow up.
Well, and just let it go. Let it roll out, because I do think Substack has problems. Not the platform, but I mean the business model, because I do think it's going to be a bit of a push to get subscription money for all these guys. I mean, it's you're in effect like it's a new cable system where you're going to be paying for Tinian, you're going to be paying for Zdarsky, you're going to be paying for Ahmed, you're going to be paying for Hickman. Like that's going to, I think, be a different problem at some point. I don't know if comic fans are going to have that many subscriptions rolling all at once. I think that's a challenge just from a business model perspective.
We're going to get over time. I'm sure they'll start figuring stuff out. There's going to be people who will probably start collectives and be, you know, there might be publishers, but then you might get people who are going to be like, hey, you know, this is completely hypothetical, but, you know, maybe James Tynan's doing this for a little bit and goes like, you know, I'm kind of like, I got a good sub count, but I'm like, you know, flattened out at a certain point. Yeah. What if I call Scott, I get a hold of Marguerite Bennett, I get a hold of Kyle Higgins, I get a hold of Steve Orlando. What if we all come together and we do something and, you know, we bump it up? Like maybe now you're paying $20 a month, but you're getting comics from like, you know, 6, you know, known writers. Like I could see it changing and going down that route as well. I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation over the next couple of years to figure out how to work this.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you already see, like right now, Donny Cates announced his thing with was it Ryan Stegman? Yeah. As both of them, right? So their platform, you could end up having a thing where like that platform has a book from Donny and that artist, Stegman. Then you could have a book that Stegman writes that someone draws. If he writes, Donny could do more books without him that he's like a producer on or some shit, you know? Yeah. I totally see. I think that you're right. Yeah, I think that's where it goes. If this ends up being a problem, I am always amazed though at how Kickstarters do when a writer has had significant Marvel and DC credit, even if I don't consider them to be, you know, a majorly popular writer. I'm not going to say his name because God forbid, you know, I wouldn't want to hurt anyone's feelings because he seems to be a good guy, but there is a Marvel and DC writer who I don't consider to be a or B lister who routinely hits on Kickstarter with great numbers. And I think that someone like James, I'm so scared to say his name because I always see it, and I know that he must have people pronouncing it wrong all the time.
We know you mean Bendis, yeah.
Yeah.
James, who you know, he is right now one of the hottest out, if not the hottest out. You know, it has to be between him and Donny. So he and Donny, I think, aren't going to struggle right now. Someone and Hickman, who is doing what you said, Joe, I think is having multiple titles and multiple creators. I think that those guys aren't going to struggle. It's going to be the ones who, you know, Perch, you said that there's probably a tier system too. The ones who are on the lower tier of the grant are going to be the ones, ironically, who are going to have the hardest time making steady income because they're going to, you know, throw everything behind the bigger names.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see who does well, though, for sure.
It will be an interesting experiment. I think it's good. I'm glad to see more options. I mean, the funny thing, and this is, you kind of said it earlier, the fucked up part about comics, and this is from, you know, selling comics in the 1991. It's always been this way. People, whenever something new comes out that may be good, may be bad, but at least it has the potential to be good, a good portion of the comics people bitch about it and complain and drag their feet and scream about it. And there's always this cycle of like, whenever something new shows up, there's a group of people who make every opportunity to say, this is ruining me. Why is it not? And it's like I said, it's jealousy in a lot of cases. Yeah. But how else? Like something has to move forward. All the other entertainment businesses have moved forward in more ways than comics. Comics always feels like you got to drag these people across the finish line.
Yeah, it's true. Comics feels behind all the time. I remember I was talking to my friend Larry Watts, who he runs a t-shirt company, and Larry told me that the style of artwork and the style of marketing in fashion is always a little bit ahead, and he finds that being in both, he sees comics as being about 3 or 4 years behind the other entertainment industries as far as how they operate. And it's sad to watch this reaction. And at the same time, like, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I think that as long as you're reacting in a way that is understanding about how someone, why someone would take this, even if you don't agree with Substack having a platform that anyone could access, just don't put that on the creators. Understand where they're coming from. And beyond that, like, feel free to not know shit. Like, dude, I don't know shit about shit, right?
Sure.
When I speak, I'm doing it from a place of, I know what I know, and this is my thought. But if you have a different thought, fuck me, dude. I don't know anything. So why don't more people slow down and accept not knowing that much about Substack, dude? It's like, why is everyone so quick to be like, this is why Substack is the fucking worst, and this is why everyone who joins it, horrible, right? Like, calm down, dude. It's what, like week 2 of this shit? Calm down.
Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, technically, my family platforms hate every Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. It is all silly, and unfortunately, it seems really transparent, because I feel like if Substack wandered into some of the people who are complaining the loudest and said, "Hey, here's $75K of an advanced bonus for the year," I suspect there would be a lot more Substack. It really, unfortunately, transparently, it really feels like it's people who wanted that bonus and didn't get it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Of course.
It's so fucking transparent. The amount of threads that popped up on Twitter that were people also dancing around that issue, that were trying to be like, like Substack is all about hate, followed by, but I understand why people need the money, but you got to not take the money because you got to have principles. And these same people who, are then talking about how, climate change is going to destroy the planet, after that shit are just like, let me Uber Eats something.
There it is.
It's like,
I saw one kind of very early creators like, Substack is a hate platform, but the way you redeem yourself, and in this case, like, why is somebody like James or Zdarsky or somebody even listening to you at this point? But it's like, the way you redeem yourself is you take all the money that they gave you and you donate it to me, and then I'll make sure that it's like, I mean, come on, come on, bro. Yeah. What are you doing?
Horrible. Yeah, and it comes down to this. I couldn't agree more that it all comes from jealousy. And I think that if people hear about the numbers, they get less empathy about why would a comics creator like me take this, and they don't put themselves in their shoes. They stay in the jealousy, that they stay, oh, that's blood money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When really, I'll tell you this, and this might be a thing that I've said before, but it's relevant. Back when I was working for Zenescope, I would always see comments on Twitter critiquing the company, making fun of their covers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As an editor, and this is real, part of my goal was to reach out to those writers and to offer them to pitch, because I wanted to see, are you about that? Do you actually believe this? Or do you want to change your fucking stupid opinion and have an opportunity? And the answer, in every situation, they want to pitch. They always want to pitch. So if that gig will make you change your opinion and make you delete your tweets every time, how about that stack from Substack? I think it'll make you change your opinion in every situation. I mean, there's no defense of this opinion, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. It's a dumb, I mean, the guild by association. I mean, I think we've got to come to a point where people are going to give up on some of that. Look, you got to take somebody's work for what it is. if James starts writing, I don't know, Nazi propaganda, then everybody can be pissed at James. All right, we can then firmly put that there. But until that happens, like, can we stop judging James by something that maybe someone else, somewhere else in the company that has never met James or has any contact with James or does anything at all remotely resembling anything that he does? Like, why are we doing that? I think that can apply to just about everything. I mean, this tribal, you once talked to this person, so therefore you're part of a group. It's just, that doesn't hold up over time. And that's an interesting story. So you would, at Zenescope, you would find these people and you would basically offer them to pitch.
Yes, and I mean, now it's considered, bad to do it, what's the term? Term search on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
It's like not cool to search what people are saying, but everyone fucking does it, So I would search stuff like Zenescope, Robin Hood, Grim Fairy Tales, and see who I'm following that is speaking about it, looking for both negative and positive comments, to sometimes use in marketing, to sometimes just like see what people think. And that led me to do shit like I would see certain bloggers, say negative things about my covers on Robinhood. So I would be like, hey, if I can get your email address, I'll send you a free issue. I would never do that now, because now, to me, I have a much lower tolerance for negativity than I did back then. Back then, I felt like I had something to prove. Now, as 21 Savage said, right? If you cross me once, it's fuck you for life. So that's how I feel now. But back then, I really did want to convince people. I wanted people to respect my work, to respect Zenescope as a company when they weren't doing that. So I would reach out to people. I would search what they were saying. And there are writers who I'm still friends with who they don't know that I know that they had negative tweets about my work, about Zenescope. I reached out to, gave opportunities. In some cases, the comics happened. They are published. That's.
Well, good for you. I mean, that's a cool way to turn people around, but it is all very hollow, and I wish it wasn't such a performance show all the time. And it is getting, Joe and I've been talking. I mean, it feels like, it's hard to gauge. Are we steering into stupider territory these days, or is Twitter kind of getting to this next level of just like the takes are dumber than ever from what I'm seeing?
Yeah. I mean, Joe, you know, the stuff that we talk about in our messages, it's like the amount of the amount of tweets that you can look at and go, hey, it's just like,
oh my God.
It's
an embarrassment of riches when it comes to that. But and it's sad. I mean, I talked to a few other people, and there are people who are truly awful on Twitter, and I guess they don't know it, don't have any actual friends or people that'll like pull them aside and be like, everyone's not your therapist, and maybe don't put some of that out there. But I mean, but the other thing too that I will say, in part, this part of the rant is sponsored by 1857 Potato Vodka Blue.
Hey.
But there are fucking people. I've talked to Pat, and I've called some of them out just privately.
Yeah.
Of like, you see this shit where like, I know for a fact this person is like, I can't stand this creator or that creator. The second you open Twitter, one of the first things you see is like, oh my God, your new book is like the best thing. You're like the best writer or artist in the business. And you're just like, fuck you, dude.
Ass kissing, dude, for sure.
Fuck, it's nuts. It is nuts, the amount of ass kissing people that can't help them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? I mean, there's some stuff I've seen recently. And there's one in particular that was so egregious that I'm not going to get into it or even hint at it, but I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
You
please
gotta be kidding me.
Please tell us later on,
Oh yeah, we'll talk.
It was for Helena here, right? That's the book they were promoting.
Hell of a bottom.
Oh,
yeah.
I just noticed it, dude. Yeah. You know what, too? Helena was fun to write. It's say what you will about the covers, and people do, but those books were fun to write. It never felt like you were writing smut, except a few scenes here and there. But if there are action stories, and they were super fun to write, and this is crazy.
It's tiny on the screen. A lot of people don't, but your name's on that cover. That's yours.
Oh yeah. I wrote that. That is Helena Scythe. It is the second series of Helena, and I'll say this: this is something that no one really kind of appreciates in comics. How certain gigs can help you to get other gigs. I was recently talking about how I felt so honored, and this is not going to be a humble brag. This is just a brag, dude.
Let's go full brag. Yeah. Well, when you got a comic like that, you can go full brag.
There we go. I felt very honored that I was given Alan Moore's notes and outline to work with on Cross Plus 100. He wrote this history book of Crossed, the world of Crossed. He started from where Garth Ennis left and continued through 100 years of time. And then he wrote 100 years later. But what never came out was his arc of what happens between that time. So I was given that outline, and I turned that into a comic for Cross Plus 100. Now, I got that gig because of these gigs.
Yeah.
Avatar Press is Boundless Press. Same company. Right? I got that gig because I did a good job on the Boundless books. So people will always wonder shit like, oh, why would you take this gig? Why would you do this? One, my answer to this is always wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I wanted the money. I wanted the gig. I wanted to work with the editor. That's always my answer. Why else, though? Because working with an editor establishes a relationship and can help you out in other shit. So that's why, dude. So looking at that, as long as the cover isn't the gaping asshole that I saw, I feel a sense of warmth in my heart. Not elsewhere, dude, but warmth in the heart.
I like how you put in that little caveat.
Oh yeah.
Gotta know
I also like. Thanks, Rob, for you went look it up. I like the realism here. It's extremely gaping, and she's in the middle of the pitched battle, which is not realistic.
Oh boy.
Wow, for you continuity nerds out there.
Yeah, I love it.
But no, and I guess what is
the plot of this book? Is it that they've had a long battle and they're just the two women are going to just kind of relax in a hot tub and they're going to talk about where all the cloth went?
Yeah, that's the exact plot. What's funny is how close that these were to being just like pure action horror comics. And then, for example, in Helena, there's nudity and there's one sex scene in the whole arc. And then
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then in my arc on Lookers, it was called Lookers Ember, and it ran for I think 11 or 12 issues. And that was like a female Breaking Bad story that was like cartels, drugs, and everything. And that one had more explicit sex. And there were even issues where like a sex scene that wasn't in the script was added in, and I was sent that one later on. So then I would have to like figure out how to make sense of that scene having taken place. So that kind of thing. But it was never a big bummer for me. It was just a thing. I hear a police siren.
That's that's me. I'm taking me away. Just end this misery, because fucking no. But yeah, what are we talking about? Comics?
Yeah, comics. We were on balance. Is Perch okay?
I think Perch had to.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Just drinking. Yeah. No, all good. No, the book next to it. crisis. So if it's hard to see. This is crisis of infinite pandemics or infinite quarantine.
Wow, that can fuck all the way off.
Yeah, the virus is coming in, and he's saying, "That's right, I killed your pappy, and I'm coming for you next." Apparently, the coronavirus has obtained sentience and is going to murder old people.
That's it's awful.
Yeah.
No offense to the creative team, but who's putting that
out? This is, let's see, it's Aardvark Press, and it's a one shot.
That's the service guy. Dave Sim. That's Dave Sim, right?
My question is this: like, how, like, with the pandemic, like, I'm noticing that there's a handful of creators that will post I roughly 40, 50 times a day about the pandemic and kind of urging people to wear masks in various states of duress. Is there a point where people just start to want to do the opposite because they're hearing it constantly?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like if you already didn't want to wear a mask, if you already didn't want to get the vaccine, seeing so many people push it is definitely going to make you draw back in. But at the same time, like, for example, I'm vaccinated, and my friends who don't get the vaccine, I'm not going to change their opinion. So I'm not going to speak to them. Like, for example, my buddy Chris, Chris is a flat earther, dude. So fucking. Sure. Of course, he's not getting the vaccine.
I like that. Just like, he's a flat earther. What are you, stupid? Of course, he's not going to get the vaccine. Crazy.
So I've already spent so much time like, hey, Chris, why you believe this? That it's not going to help me tweeting, get the vaccine, because like, people like me who want the vaccine are getting it or have worked on getting it. People like my homie Chris, there's no convincing them because conspiracy theories have so thoroughly convinced him that the world is a certain way and that everyone else is lying. Now, there's nothing that I could do. And that, like, I guess people think it sucks, and it probably does. But yeah, dude, like, there's nothing that does. It doesn't help. Maybe, if anything, maybe it could like remind someone who hasn't seen Twitter in like 6 months, like, oh yeah, I should get the vaccine. Maybe that's what it does. But personally, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, Sorry.
I worry about it. I mean, Joe. I worry about. There's a guy. Jimmy on Twitter is somebody I've met many times. Decent guy and everything else. And I mean, God, every day it's multiple tweets about you gotta take the vaccine, you fucker. And it's like, at some point, it's like you say, what are you? Are you hoping to catch the person who's like, oh, they woke up and they've been in Antarctica and they got back and they haven't turned on Twitter in a year, and it's like, shit, there's a vaccine, I should go take that. Thank you. I mean,
I mean, this is like my take on all this stuff is, look, I got the vaccine. I think people who are medically able to, if their doctor says they should, whatever, that's fine. A lot of this isn't my business because I'm my own person and other people are their own person. And, I do the thing. I keep a mask on me. And if I go somewhere and it's like everyone's wearing a mask, I'll be like, all right. And if they're not, I don't. I think that's probably what most people do. Like, this isn't a crazy rocking the boat thing. Like, because the other thing, too, is I just want things to be easy going. I don't want a problem. I don't want to deal with a confrontation or anything like I just don't. I don't have it in me anymore. No. It's just like, I just want to get my shit and go. I want to see a movie, and if I go into a movie and there's not a lot of people in there anyway, I'm not going to wear a mask like an idiot. But there's stuff like that. But then
I just want my whiskey. Yeah. I just don't want somebody I just want to go in and get my whiskey, get the fuck out. If I have to wear a mask, if I have to wear a diving suit, I'm going to do it.
But here's the thing. This is more the punchline.
Yeah.
No one on this planet, anywhere, in all of time, has ever, for a second, thought to themselves, I'm a little on the fence about this vaccine thing. Let me see what the co-writer of Harley Quinn from a couple of years ago thinks about it.
Yeah.
Like no one. And the amount of people who act like they have anywhere from 2 to 10,000 followers on Twitter, even more. It's like, newsflash, 10,000 followers ain't nothing. 100,000 followers ain't nothing. That's big in comics. It's not big in like actual life. Like my brother deals with the one who goes and takes private jets to Vegas. He deals with that kind of stuff with like musicians, works for a label. They'll pay people to make viral posts. They don't, if you're under 100,000 followers, they do not care. Yep. And even then, 100,000 followers is like if you want, mate, we'll give you like $20. We're not gonna like invest because that's nothing. And the amount of people out there who are like, oh my God, I got 8,000 followers. I wrote a one-shot Batman story last year. People need to know to get vaccinated. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think that people feel an obligation to do this, and I think that I hope that it comes from a good place, but at the same time it's like I agree. I think that it might make someone who is already not doing it just not do it a little bit harder, and that anyone who would have already plans to at this point, you know. It's it. And plus, like, I'm tired of there's this great bit by Tim Dillon where he talks about how why can't we go back to like when politics was for fucking losers, you know? Like, why?
Here's the trick.
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
It is for losers right now.
Yeah.
but you know what? And to kind of build on your point there, you know, Pat, when you were saying it does come from a good place. It's like, look,
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like teasing about like Jimmy and stuff like that. I don't think for a second Jimmy Palmiotti is like, you know, like, more ha ha ha, my insidious plan. No, of course. He's a lot of these, this is the problem. Just about every one of these people, for the most part, are trying to do the right thing. Some of them are just doing it for clout, all that. Yeah. Absolutely. Too many of them are doing it for clout. And there's nothing more pathetic than like some comics person who's like, oh my God, wow, I finally got 5,000 followers. Everyone must want to hear my opinions on everything. And that happens way, way too much. And it's not just the vaccine, it's politics, everything else. And it's really jarring and annoying because you follow a lot of these people when you're in comics and you just have to deal with, you know, it's very weird. It's a lot of that, and then they'll be talking about a book they're doing, and then they'll be telling people how they need to interact with them on Twitter. And like there's always those PSAs too on like, I got a bunch of new followers, so I really need you to understand. Don't tag me in a post with X. Don't do this, don't do that, you know, and it's like I've never, ever went term searching or looking around to see how I'm allowed to interact with someone on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that you are apt in using the term PSA because that's what it is. You go on Twitter and you see these PSAs, do this, don't do this. And it's like, you know what I would prefer to see? I don't mind talking about COVID. I don't mind talking about the vaccine, but talk about nuanced experience. For example, I asked before I had the vaccine, I was, you know, I knew I was going to get it. And I felt almost like, should I even fucking say that I feel uneasy about it? Or is someone going to interpret that the wrong way? It isn't that I feel uneasy that it's not going to work. I felt uneasy that I was going to feel sick for a day. And that's it, you know? So I asked people for their stories about it. And every story was, it had this shield over it. Like the vaccine works 100%, but it might make you feel a little bit sick. I was like, oh, what do you really mean though? Because I want to know. I want you to tell me the truth. I know it's gonna work. Don't fucking remind me. Tell me your exact experience so I can prepare for it. No one fucking prepared me, and I was fucked up. I've never felt worse. I've never fucking felt worse than my second shot. And I'm glad that I took it. I feel safer in the fucking world right now, but at the same time, I do have a bit of resentment that the people seem to like pussyfoot around it. There was no real honesty about the stories about it. And even a similar question went viral recently, and someone asked people to share their stories about their experience, their reaction, and almost every tweet was it had this shield. It had this "please don't think this of me" shield. It's like no one's gonna think it of you if you don't fucking say it. If you aren't anti-vax, and I feel you shouldn't be, personally, that's my opinion, then you're not gonna fucking look that way. Don't be a coward. Say what happened to you. Me,
Yeah, that would have been helpful.
me,
Been honest.
it sucked. It sucked when I got it. But at the same time, I don't have to say I believe in it. It's this, and that, and it sucked. For me, just sucked.
Yeah.
Say that, dude.
The honesty would have helped. And to the point, I mean, I consider myself reasonable friends with Jimmy. I think him and Amanda are wonderful, and I like. But I do feel like next time I see him, I do want to go up and like put my arm around him, like your war is over, sir. You can stand down. We've got it. We've got it from here.
Your war is over. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's like, and plus, here's the thing. It goes back to like not knowing shit. Can we just not be afraid of what someone fucking is gonna think of us? Because what if someone says, "Oh, this is how you come off"? You can just say, "Didn't mean to." You know, like why do we have to know everything immediately? Like, shut up, dude.
It's I don't know. It's and
ridiculous. Why? And this is something Pat and I have talked about too. I'm sure we've talked about it too, Perch. But I basically finished that class. But why do you need an opinion on fucking everything?
That dude, exactly. Why? Yeah. It's made up. It's made up.
Yeah. Shit. It's totally. And why don't you have an opinion on why Vampirilla there in the bottom right is bald? Like when somebody said, "Give me a shaved Vampirilla for this cover," I feel like the artist was pranking them.
I think so too.
Oh,
that was.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Look at that thing.
Wow. But this is the sad thing about this, and I feel like a lot of people in the chat are probably going to agree. This is a somber moment here. This is a very top-heavy week for Dynamite, and this is a sad week for butt enthusiasts everywhere.
Wow. It is true. I mean, Jeff is not in the chat, so I feel bad for him. I mean, we've broken the habit of him. This is normally right about the time he shows up, but it's kind of a sad week for Jeff this week.
No, there's a lopsided amount of T with very little A to go along with it, and I don't know. It's just
Betty Page is ruining that bear rug as well. It's you're not going to get it's going to need to be cleaned.
Yeah, the bear looks not comfortable, dude.
No, well, I mean,
the bear is not. That bear is not happy.
No, it's like help me. It's spirit,
I can't imagine Betty Page is comfortable there too, because the way that like if you could even call it a robe is draped over her, looks like it's like in an awkward position where you'd constantly either be trying to like get it up your shoulders or get it off. Like it's just it's not that's not an ideal position. I don't think, and I don't know that
I'm struck by the chain bikini there on Red Sonja in the bottom. That we're getting. It's not under boob. It's under bikini.
Oh yeah, no. The one
Yeah, it's kind of flapping
the
there.
second to the left.
Yeah.
That one. I was looking at that one too, and I gotta say with that one, I feel like not only is she already a little top heavy, but like the way she's swinging that sword and twisting, like her back's gotta be going through a lot.
In fairness, there's probably back problems that have existed previously.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you look at the curvature of her spine on top. I mean, like, she's like, oh my God, it's like some chiropractor's just looking at that. Like, come on, I gotta, let's get you over here.
I suspect that's a common feeling with a lot of comic covers, actually.
Yeah, no, it's, it's a chiropractor's dream for people to do that. Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a month. It's been a month since I've been on one of these streams, and it's I thought I would bring more heat. It's anyway.
So, but yeah, Nick is in the chat here.
Is he?
Yeah, no, Nick. Hey, hi, Nick. We're supporting Dynamite. Little top heavy, not a lot of. It's a little lot of T, not a lot of A this week. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there.
Nick, we've got to get you for an interview here soon. It's definitely overdue. And I mean, we've just put up a Dynamite page for a long time while we talked about COVID shots. So I mean, that's great. That's a great cross promotion.
There you go, dude.
No, but this is great. No, this is
I love that Dynamite brings it every week. It's great stuff.
So. No, it's been brought.
It's been brought. Well done.
Yes.
So
no, the Deja, that's a good cover, Nick. Yeah.
Yes, very much it.
And plus, I feel a kindred spirit when I see covers like that from just years of getting critiqued for it from Zenoscope shit. So more power to Dynamite. Do it up, balance the TNA a bit. All right, but it's great.
Yeah. No, for sure, and also the James Bond stuff. I really like what they do over there with that. It's good stuff.
I like that they're putting this stuff out there. No, it is. But okay, so some people in chat were asking earlier. We might as well ask you guys. So apparently this controversy has bubbled up while I was working. I guess Wes mentioned on Thinking Critical. I'm a guest on his show from time to time, and John Kent gay. Is that? But
is that even happening?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a thing.
I mean, so maybe this is a continuity issue, but we've seen Future State. He is. I mean, I'm not going to be that guy, but he is dating Yara in the future.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I mean, I don't read these books.
That's why you're so jolly.
So, but all right.
That's why you're having like the time of your life here. You don't even read them.
I saw a page, right? I saw a page where a young gentleman comes to homie and is like, hey, you want to go on a date? And Jonathan Kent, who I didn't know existed until this page, said yes. So
wait, you're thinking Tim Drake.
Oh, yeah.
That was Tim. Yeah, that's Timmy Boy. Come on. That's great though, because
that was the awesomest way to respond to this.
I'm kind of jealous of you that you don't even know this shit. It's great.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, I gotta be real. To me, same character,
I enjoy the emotional toying that seems to be going on here with people of like, hey, we like John Kent the Kid hanging out with Damian and the Super Sons kind of thing, the young Batman, young Superman, young Robin, young Superman. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
When they aged up John Kent, it's like, what are you fucking doing? He's aged now. And then now this and he might be gay. It's like
but he was dating Saturn Girl. A little bit. Then there was a crush there, and then there was the girl when he was like 10. I mean, that doesn't count. I mean, you know what I mean.
Jean Grey away from being,
But there was the girl on the other farm, that he was like into when he was a kid, and then there's the Saturn Girl stuff, and then there's Yara Flores. So like, I don't think that's happening. And even if it did, whatever. I mean, this is one of those things. Like, look, I understand, and I'm empathetic. I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying I'm empathetic to people who, let's say you were a big fan of Iceman or Tim Drake for 30, 40, 50 years or whatever, and then they retcon the character in a way that affects like the storylines that you enjoyed. Like maybe you were a big fan of Iceman being with Opal during Wheezy's X Factor run.
Sure.
And so I am empathetic to that. So I'm being like, oh, I really, like I wish we could have got like him and Opal back together, or at least like addressed the fact they did like bring Opal back, like and address that. I don't think they did.
No.
So I'm very empathetic to that.
But in
this
case,
is like the character, the grown up Jonathan Kent is in like a handful of issues or so at this point. So who cares?
Well, yeah, I don't know if this is a big deal at all, but also we've seen his past and future. So I'm actually kind of I'm curious how if Tom Taylor's going to actually reveal the character is gay or bisexual, whatever it happens to be. There's got to be some gymnastics because you can't just go backward and retcon continuity. You've got to go forward as well because we've seen his future.
Well, you're not as curious as Jonathan Kent, apparently.
That's true. You just could be very curious.
So, but hey, what if it's like Jonathan Kent's just like, yeah, I had a phase.
Yeah.
I have a question that I'm sure everyone in the comments is wondering.
Yes.
Who is this guy?
Like, this is Superman's kid. Yeah. And he was it's okay. So Superman, this is a Superman that is different from the Superman that was a New 52 Superman that was in an alternate multiversal reality that came into the picture when Brainiac converged a bunch of the different realities into one battle world, trademark Marvel. And then through the collapse of the New 52, that Superman and his wife Lois had their son, John, who's this kid, who at one point was taken from his parents by Superman Kal-El's father, who was revealed not to be dead and aged up in the future while on a world with Ultraman, and he came back to the present and he's older now.
Bruh. All right, so listen, DC is gonna have a bunch of job openings real soon, right? So I'm gonna tread carefully. All I'll say is that sounds wild, but if he's gay, he's gay.
I mean, sure.
That story is way crazier than anything that he does.
That's the most relatable thing about him is if he was gay. That would be like, oh, finally, something we can relate to.
Yeah. He looks like a TikTok dude, though. The hair is very TikTok forward.
Well, he's also got those ribbed sleeves.
Oh yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the drip is it's not bad, but Jesus Christ, dude. The that backstory, get out of here, bro.
No, it's fucked up, but they'll probably start dropping hints like him and Tim are going to start arguing like who's better, Charlie XCX or Carly Rae Jepsen. And then we'll go from there.
Oh my God.
After walking through this backstory as a completely unrelated topic, more and more customers seem to be finding DC Comics unrelatable.
Yeah, I mean, what you just told me is so crazy.
I love it because it is because DC, and if anyone's listening from DC, mute this, or you're probably not even going to be working there in like 6 months anyway. But it's like you look at this stuff, and there's this constant, and it keeps coming up more and more and more. It's like, we need to do a crisis event to make everything make sense. And that was a stupid thought, because the crisis was a big convoluted nightmare that they were retconning almost immediately after. It's like they already had that. It's like they had to do events shortly after Crisis to start cleaning up things they weren't even thinking of during Crisis, while they tanked their two biggest selling books, Teen Titans and Legion, to do the Crisis. Then it's like a couple of decades later, they're like, oh, guys, we got to do another Crisis again with Infinite Crisis. Then barely a few years later, it's like, we got to do a Final Crisis. A couple of years later, let's do a Flashpoint, which is basically a Crisis. Then a few years after that, oh, let's do a Rebirth, which is basically another Crisis. And now we're doing, Infinite Frontier, which is basically another Crisis.
Well, we had a couple of death metals in there too.
Plus, a couple of death metal events, which were also crises. We had the multiversity thing that Grant did, that was also kind of a crisis. And then next year, we're having the next crisis.
Well, we had the crisis of the Adam's ex-wife murdering somebody who was also raped at one point by Dr. Light crisis. So,
yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah. So yeah, every time you try to set these things up, it's just like, all right, can we please stop? Can we just have a comic that's going for a while and just enjoy it?
I like how DC has made the comment, or there's some people, not mentioning names, say the most unrelatable part about DC are some of these older characters that are billionaires that people can't relate to, and so that's the hardest part for people to get, which somebody noted in the chat. But this has been one of the comments, like, we really got to do something about Bruce Wayne, because nobody can relate to just a old white guy billionaire fighting crime. We've got to shake it up a little bit. It's very unrelatable, unlike whatever the fuck's going on with John Kent here.
The amount of kids Batman's adopted. Number one, Batman hangs out with more kids than Michael Jackson ever did. And number two,
dude.
Number two, Batman needs all that money because he's adopted and is raising, half of Gotham at this point. So, like, dude, that's where that money's going.
Yeah,
back into your City of Bruce pitch.
That's so crazy. Yeah, if that's what's most unrelatable, that's so crazy to me. Because everything that you just said, and that whole crisis line too, is just so insane to me. Though I have to kind of contradict myself too really quick though. WandaVision, right? I think it was pretty good. If you were to describe it to someone, it would sound kind of like that. So I have to say, I do feel empathy for the creators dealing with this, because there is convolutedness in the fabric of superheroes. So it sounds bad. It could be bad, but at the same time, I could get why someone would write that story in a world where this shit already exists. I get it. It's, as my mom says, it's not for me,
Yeah.
But
I noticed that Mr. Thorne, you've joined us in the chat. So I did want to take us back, one page here. We wouldn't want you to miss it this week. It's been a month. Yeah. So the dynamite is back. So there, yeah. But it is, anyway, it is this whole thing. The comments coming out of what was going to be G5 and kind of everything that was going on there was a lot about how we have to make the DC universe relatable again.
Yeah. And
then you hear kind of this, and I did John Kent. I mean, I could do a similar balls out insane path of what's happened to Batman. How his dad came from an alternate dimension and teamed up with Bane, who killed Alfred, and then run amok in Gotham City while Bruce Wayne got tired and left after being jilted at the altar by Catwoman, and then later reconciled after going through some nightmares. Like, you could go down the list of their characters and go, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And if your conclusion from all these things that is happening is, some of our legacy characters are unrelatable.
No, and I mean that, like, we could talk about all the insane stuff that Wonder Woman's been through the past few years, which mostly boiled down to she loves the truth, but people have lied to her, and she's learned a lesson about how the world is bad, and she has to protect that. Like, I really wish that everything didn't suck revolving around some of these characters that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's so crazy that that's what's going on with this publishing company, and then that's their conclusion, the unrelatability. When I mean, I know that Marvel really, for their entire company, has had the thought that their superheroes are us. They're the ones that we can see ourselves in, but relatability doesn't really matter that much in story. Like, to me, in a story, as long as you can understand why a character did what they did, we shouldn't strive for characters to be relatable. We should just strive for them to be understandable, that we can empathize with them. I don't want to see myself in these people. I want to see. That's not necessary for me, and I think that relatability is such a corporate idea.
Yeah,
that's not what I want from a story, for sure.
No, I think you nailed it. But a couple of things. Speaking of Marvel, they're one of the characters that became a smash hit because, in part, he was somewhat relatable, was Spider-Man. What's going on in Spider-Man now, quality of the books aside, is a complete incoherent nightmare. That is nothing close to relatable. And another interesting thing about Wonder Woman, I think was it Esteban had it in the chat, where remember that they said Wonder Woman was bi, and just to make a big deal and get press, and then they rolled that back and never touched it again. They didn't even have her in that Pride anthology.
Much like Wonder Woman not touching other women.
Yeah. But, like, that's the kind of thing where people do talk about this stuff. Like, people act like, oh, well, you release this, you say this character's this thing, and it never goes back. It's like they roll that shit back with Wonder Woman. They do not act like she is queer at all.
I don't need a relatable character in the comic. I mean, I can hand my daughter the phone and she can tape me drinking, and that if I want to see it, that would be great. But I don't need that in the comic. I don't. I mean, Jeff put it, other people put it in the chat. You want inspiring, you want plausible, you want somebody who you might want to look up to, you want somebody maybe you can understand. That would be good, but not relatable. I mean, not in this way.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, for Breaking Bad, for example, right? Breaking Bad, one of the top narratives of the past decade. When Walt has his downward spiral and you stop feeling like his situation is similar to yours, does it stop being a good show? Does he stop being an interesting character? The answer is fucking no. The answer is that it makes you challenge things about yourself. It makes you ask yourself questions. The idea that these characters, that lead characters, should be someone that we always have to see ourselves in, that to me is like death of fiction type shit. That's not what we should be doing.
Yeah,
absolutely. I want Green Lantern to be flying around, solving problems, fighting supervillains, doing cool stuff with his ring, going to other galaxies. I don't want it like, hey, you can't have him going to space. I can't go into space. I'd rather see a comic of him like driving down to Starbucks and getting some coffee and wishing it was whiskey. That's what I want my Green Lantern to do. That would be a completely shitty story.
Yeah. Unless, you know what? If an editor gave it to me to do, I'm fucking on it, dude. Let's Iron Man dog it up, okay?
Well, there you go. Good. Take the paycheck.
I at this point, I would take Iron Man talking dog in a heartbeat.
Well, over current Iron Man, yes.
Because current Iron Man's rough.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
that's what dogs say.
Yeah,
that's such a crazy pun. I cannot believe that one.
That's what that pocket will do. Yes.
That pun was brought to you by 1857 Potato Vodka Blue.
Bro, are you Kieran Gillen? That was so crazy.
Yeah.
That was the most in-depth pun I've ever heard. That's so crazy. Get out of here, dude.
That's
Right.
well, see, that's why you guys bring the talent here, and I drink. No, it is sad to me. I do feel like there's been a monkey's paw like thing that's happened with Iron Man because I suffered through the Iron Man 2020 little mini event, and it was terrible. Nothing against the creators and anything, but there's that event, that comic was terrible for me, and I'm like, well, I can't get any worse than this, and God damn it, they found a way.
Oh boy.
It's
Oh boy.
it's just so bad.
It wasn't funny. It wasn't fun.
No.
It's not. It's a bad time.
I want to ask you guys, because I'm seeing a comment here about drunk Perch. I do want to ask you, have you ever said anything on stream where you're like, fuck?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah. All the time. What are you talking about?
Duh.
That's my normal bit. No, I mean, I think I hold my liquor well. I was on, let's see, how do I want to put this? When I was in Greece, I was at one particular a day where I was with some other people, and the alcohol was comped, and everybody was drinking. I was hanging out with a sommelier, and it was we got over 30 glasses of alcohol that day, and it was a lot. I'll just throw that out there. It was just a lot. So anyway, yeah, all the time. But I've never said anything too terribly. I haven't been canceled yet. So fuck you, internet.
There you go, dude. There you go.
Come at me.
Woo!
Yeah. We talked about some of these things. We mentioned Substack earlier. I mean, how can we not talk more about OnlyFans? Is OnlyFans a place where comics could become, do you think?
Where comics could come, you said? I think that certain comics can, there's all right. I do with my wife Amy, we have a comic called Thirsty, and it is an erotica comic, and we're looking to do more of those kind of stories. And I clicked recently the artwork on one of those comic book ads where it's like a porn story, and I clicked it, and what it does is it tells a regular story up until any sex happens, and then it cuts off, and you have to pay to read more. So something like that, where an OnlyFans could take a comic book story, hook you in with the characters and good artwork, and like tease you about what you want to see, and monetize that by having a portion of it free and a portion of it paid. That could be a way that OnlyFans has comic book content. But as far as like NT comics, that being non-titty comics, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like OnlyFans is not going to be able to be a platform that has non-erotic content. It's too known for it. It's just not going to happen. They're going to be done if they do this.
Is that the place where maybe you do a Namor comic and you just have lots of close-ups on his feet?
Yeah,
I'm sure OnlyFans is going to turn into foot fetish stuff. It's going to turn into, What else do you do there?
Yeah, there's nothing else. I mean, you can be naked, I think, still. So like maybe they'll do a thing where like they'll have like the model in front and like a guy's naked behind her, and she'll be like, imagine what I would be doing if I could, but there's no room for it to be a platform that's not for that.
I'm with you. I don't think you can rebrand at that point. I think once you're that known, you can't just turn around and say, well, now we're for cooking.
I've just been thinking of that. There's this bit from Arrested Development with Tobias where he's just like, if it looks like I just had sex, it's because I almost did. And that's what I've been thinking about this whole
I'm curious to get your take. I've heard from some people behind the scenes, we're going to get some Saga news in the next week to 2 weeks.
I'm very excited that we'll finally get an announcement that next spring we'll get more Saga or something like that.
It's been gone 3 years now, is that right?
So long, yeah.
Over 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you know what?
I get it.
The landscape's changed. I don't think the book is going to hit the numbers they're hoping. I think the market has changed. I think a lot has changed. The big players in the industry have changed. Unfortunately, for both Brian and Fiona, they haven't been putting out books on their own in the meantime, really. There's been very little from Brian. I think it comes off as some level of hubris to have done nothing in this. I know Brian, like in comics, I know Brian's been working on movie scripts and stuff like that. It's not like he's not doing anything. And I think Fiona's like popped up as like covers and stuff, but I think there's a level of disinterest and resentment that's come from how long the hiatus has been. They have not worked their image within comics, and I think they're going to have a very similar dose of reality that Matt Fraction and Kelly Sue DeConnick did when they came back to comics a few years after trying to make it in Hollywood, and the numbers weren't there, and they're not the stars they were before they left. They just aren't.
Harsh reality. What do you think, Pat?
Where's the lie? Hit me with the lie.
Yeah, follow up on that.
Yeah, it could be true, because the thing is like this. It was announced in a way, the break that is, that my perception was that they were taking a little bit off for Fiona to catch up.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what I thought. It's been a long time, and I'll say this. I'm trying to be careful here, dude, because the internet's crazy about this topic, but this is just my truth. So fuck it. As a writer, as someone who's interested in narrative, when I read a comic, what I care about first is the story. I liked how on Why the Last Man and Ex Machina, which are Brian K. Vaughan's other works, his formative works, those stories had a main artist, and when the artist was taking a break, they would do fill-in issues. So it was always coming out. That, I think, would have been a great call. It isn't what they did, and it isn't what they want to do. Fine. I get it. From a creator's point, I get it. But I feel like it's been a long time, and they shouldn't have left us without a dope beat to step to. You know, it's been too fucking long. I don't know. I can't say. It's one of those things where I don't know shit, dude. I don't know if it's going to be a hit. I don't know. Because, like, I'll see a comic that I would have never thought was going to hit. Like, there was one, I forget what it was, but it was pretty recent. A comic that hit like 40, 50,000 from Image, I think. And I was surprised. I didn't see it doing that. So I don't know what the market wants as far as that goes. Imagine Saga came out through Substack, though.
It would help.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. It'd be a different thing. I mean, it's been you know, Ash who's been a guest on the show before. The hiatus is never too long if it's great. It can win people back, but it feels like you've got, like, the car is fully slowed down to a stop now, and you've got to slowly get it back going again. I think it's they've made it hard for themselves. And like you said, wasn't the break supposed to be relatively, it wasn't supposed to be 3 years. It was like the expectation that people had in their heads was like 6 months, maybe. And
they pussyfooted around it. They never really addressed it. It was always like, we'll have news soon. And like, that just wasn't a cool way to handle it. Like, I'm not like, and I just want to say, while I'm saying all this, look, I'm not against it coming out. I'll probably check it out because I liked it, but there's going to be a lot of people out there who are annoyed that aren't going to get it. There's going to be a lot of people who their money went somewhere else already. Yeah. Like, you know, a lot of big names have been coming up. James, like, his Tynan's star skyrocketed in that hiatus. Donnie Cates, Chip Zdarsky. There are people who their money is already, you know, it's spoken for.
I mean, we were still reeling from the cataclysmic events of Secret Empire when Saga went on its break.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. So Nick Spencer was being unfairly canceled for different things when Saga left, and now it's coming back. That's crazy. But all right. So what I want to ask you guys, though, is this, right? With Saga, and of course, not including me, I know how you guys feel about me, right? But is there any other writer who is as good as Brian K. Vaughan right now. Like, are there
Here's
that
the
many
thing.
stories?
Everyone's better than Brian K. Vaughan because they're writing, he's not. That's the
Nah,
problem.
I don't know. I feel like
Whoa.
some of these writers would do better off not writing, though. You know what I mean?
Oh no, but I get what you're saying, but I was joking in the sense that they're doing something, and he is writing. He's just writing screenplays and stuff like that. But we have seen time and time again, someone goes to Hollywood, they come back, and it's never as big.
That's true.
Like if you're trying, like we saw that, and this is going back years. I think everyone would say, like when like Frank Miller came back from Hollywood and was doing comics again, it's nothing compared to what he did before that. Same thing with Howard Chaykin. Same thing with obviously with Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue DeConnick. Like it's just how it plays, and maybe Brian K. Vaughan can push that back. Maybe part of what he was waiting for. Maybe this is a plan. Maybe this was hoping that Why the Last Man was going to come out sooner. And there were delays, obviously, with that. And now that's finally coming out as a show. And maybe he's hoping that, I'm going to piggyback on this. People are going to be hungry for my work. And Saga's going to land nicely. And that might be what happens. There could also be an announcement that, hey, look, I'm announcing that we're coming back, but we're not even doing the first issue. We're doing the first trade, baby. Like, first trade's coming out. It's going to be the next trade, so you're going to get to binge that. And you know what? We're so far ahead. Trade after that's 3 months after.
Well, you're talking crazy now, but
I mean, I'm just saying, like there are different things. I'm not trying to say that my gut reaction of how it's going to be is what's going to happen. There are a lot of ways this could play out. There was a long time. There is that chance that they really got a lot done and are just like, guys, we're back. It's coming out on time, and we're done, or we're close. We're so close to done that there's no more breaks. It's just every month you're getting.
That would be great.
You're
and
getting
then we could hand out ice cream, and there would be whiskey for people, and DC would stop having crisis events, and
that would also explain why there haven't been a lot of, Fiona Staples comics in the past few years.
True.
She might be getting those checks from those trades and all that, and fine with that. And it's like, I can get ahead of this.
Imagine that money. Imagine the money. Imagine the money and taking the break. I couldn't do it. I really want to keep it going. Jesus.
That's a wonderful story you've got there. And then right after that, Hickman will be back and he'll say, this is all just a dream, and I'm going to be writing the X-Men titles again. And the plants are going away, and they're going to stop fucking in the tiki bar. And it's like,
and then mom and dad are going to get back together, and Christmas is just going to be like it was when I was 8.
The dog comes back to life and starts humping your leg. It's a great time.
Dad's going to call and say he's proud of me. Just everything.
Yeah. The dad will come back from going to get smokes, and he'll sit down with you, and he'll have a PlayStation 5 under his arm, and you just start playing. It would be great. You get those Pokemon from Europe that you can't get because of region locked jackasses. Anyway,
it's depressing, dude. I want the Klefki. I want the Mime Jr. I want it all, bro.
I understand. It's a tough route. We can't all have jailbroken Android phones. Anyway, Shang-Chi. Well, how do you think that film's going to do?
I don't know, but I think I think it'll be fine. I think it's going to do better than Black Widow, because Black Widow was such a weird idea to kind of like come back with. Speaking of breaks, Black Widow, she died. She died last time. It's a prequel. It's not, it's a weird place to like start anew. And I think that this is going to feel more like one of the low-key films from phase 1 where they're building again. And I think that it would have been smarter to start with a build rather than oh, guess what already happened, you know?
Yeah. No, I don't know if they try to do something like have a terrible villain and an awful, Smells Like Teen Spirit cover. I think it's got a shot.
Okay, that's fair.
that was a joke. Also, not for nothing. If you're gonna do a Nirvana cover in a movie like Black Widow, what that song should have been was Sinead O'Connor's cover of All Apologies. That would have made more sense.
I haven't seen Black Widow still, but
I'm just saying, it's like, come on, guys. That's obvious. That makes more sense. In every way. Smells Like Teen Spirit was forced in there. All Apologies, the lyrics and all of that. Like, do you guys even listen to Nirvana?
I think Lithium describes the box office and the plot a little bit better. But anyway,
that could have helped too. But come on, music choices are important.
It's true.
I mean, Shang-Chi. So interestingly enough, I think that the plot of that one is probably the one this year. If you're taking Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, I think that Shang-Chi's plot and what they have going on and kind of its connection into the MCU and the Easter eggs and teases and everything else is probably the strongest of the three. But I think it's sandwiched into a very weird place where it's and plus Disney, the $29 buy the movie is a terrible price.
Right? For Disney Plus, right?
Yeah. Like I was talking to somebody earlier, actually Ryan, the guy who does the reviews every now and then, and we're like, that's just it's just too high mentally because you're buying Disney Plus and then you're paying $30 for the film. If you made it like 2 movie tickets, you could pull it, but that it just seems like it's in a very, very strange spot. And I think this movie gets just kind of sandwiched in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that price is way too high. I had no idea that's way too high. But I also agree that it has the best, plot wise chance of blowing up. I think that Eternals might be their first bomb. But Shang-Chi, it could do well. It could.
It's weird. They took probably the character with the least amount of charisma in Kim's Convenience and made him the lead, but we'll see. We'll see how it pulls off. But
also, I just gotta say something here. There's some negative talk about Sinead O'Connor I'm seeing in the chat. So I just want to throw this out here. First of all, you don't like music if you don't like her first album, The Lion and the Cobra. That is a pure raw album, and if you care about music and you don't like that, forget it. Anyway, and then let's also keep in mind that the whole thing she got kicked off of Saturday Night Live for in the mid-90s there was talking about the Catholic Church scandals over a decade before they broke. She was way ahead of her time. She got forced out and harassed. She was a kid. She was in her 20s when Joe Pesci came on the next week and got an applause for threatening to punch her in the face. Like, history, and we still, as a society, have not apologized to Sinead O'Connor. So I'm just telling you, like it is. All right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Brought to you by what vodka again?
Yeah, brought to you by 1857 Potato Vodka Blue. If you're gluten-free, you can have potato vodka guilt-free.
There you go. I mean, come on, sponsors. I'm getting all these spam messages for various IP, all kinds of dumb things. Come on, vodka. Yeah. I tried, Patron, you assholes. I tried with you for 2 years to get you to sponsor this thing. I drank your shitty tequila. No more. Fuck you, Patron. Let's get this vodka sponsorship.
And someone did mention, didn't realize Joe is Irish. My great-grandmother, Beatrice Power, was born in Waterford Island. So, good saying.
How about Suicide Squad? You watched the Suicide Squad?
I did watch the Suicide Squad.
How about you, Pat?
No,
you did not.
I mean, I will. Fine. I will. I like James Gunn. I'm glad that DC, did what they did. I think that a great response to a canceling, as momentary as it was, is, you know what? Fuck that. Give him the money. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
That's disruptive. I like it. And it speaks to that company knowing that this shit, Twitter, all that, it's not real, right? And that someone can look at a joke and understand in 20, whatever it was, 19, 2018, who cares? What a joke is. That's rare for a company. So that I like, but the movie itself, I don't know. I'll see it. It isn't a top priority for me. You know, I'll probably end up watching some of his older stuff like Super, I think, before this.
Super, yeah. Super's great. Super Slither, like
I like him more than I like DC, but as a film franchise, but it doesn't look bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has the reputation that it bombed, but I'm not sure if that's just the internet being stupid or if anybody actually thinks that.
It's probably headlines, you know, some people will just read a headline and be like, oh, it bombed, you know, and not really understand the whole story. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I haven't heard that much that it's bombed. I thought people were enjoying it, buying it, seeing it. People are talking about it way too fucking much for my taste. You know, as far as like what I want to see on my feed. So my impression isn't that it bombed at all.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. There's a difference between not meeting expectations and bombing. I think what happened was it didn't meet the box office expectations, and then it got spun into bombing. And the thing with a movie like this, unlike almost everything else that DC's put out since, you know, like 2013, and even before that, like I can see a future where the Suicide Squad is like a midnight movie, has a cult following, that there's screenings that will go on, that eventually that movie will end up making a lot more money than it did. You know, same thing with like Scott Pilgrim. Like Scott Pilgrim bombed, but it's such a pop culture touchstone, and people still talk about that movie to this day in a way that if you talk to other people about movies that came out in like 2010, they'd be like, I don't fucking know what came out in 2010. Are you kidding me? Why are you asking me that? So, you know, I think that's kind of going to be the niche that the Suicide Squad falls into.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
This we have a couple covers from the past, not too many, but this was a team up that happened once upon a time. You mentioned earlier, at one time, these were the X-Men and the Titans. Those were some of the top selling books that were going on in comics.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is not the team up of X-Men and Titans where they met Cherry Pop-Tart that I'm going to make Joe Corallo review with me next week.
That'd be great.
Look at Robin's thighs, dude. He is so much more jacked than Cyclops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and
he's thawing out, dude.
Well, the funny thing is, you know, what ends up happening is Wally West just goes crazy and kills them all.
Yeah.
Wait, in this?
No, but that's what he does in the future. Is he just goes crazy and murders everybody?
But Pat, technically not, because what actually happened here was that Wally West, who was lost in the time stream during Flashpoint, was actually replaced by a different, younger version of Wally West, who was kind of a multiversal, different version. But when pulled through the time stream by Barry Allen, where he had been lost, he was naturally traumatized. So he went into therapy where he lost control of his powers and murdered several characters, and then tried to run and hide from it. But as it turned out, there was an evil entity possessing him inside that actually did the murdering, while Wally West was sent into the distant future by a cosmic entity to try and make things right.
Yo, this shit needs Spark Notes for real. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, and this is before Donna Troy was retconned as like not being from Themyscira, and then retconned later again by you know, John Byrne into you know, what was it? Because then John Byrne like created the Cassie Sandstark Wonder Girl.
She has a barista later, yeah.
But then Donna Troy ended up being retconned back into being like Wonder Woman's sister, that whole thing. It's a lot. And then so much happened after that.
I feel like we could do a video series, Pat, where we just talk to you and just tell you kind of basic notes of what's happened in DC for the last 10 years, and it would be hysterical.
Yeah. Blow my mind, probably, dude. You know, because there are certain runs that I've read, but as far as like the universe, I've never kept up with what's going on in the universe because it's so much. Like what I would do is this, for example, I tried reading Jeff Johns' Green Lantern stuff back in the day, and I would start at a volume and be like, oh, this isn't the first one because they didn't put fucking any number on any of the trades. So now I have to see what date this came out and try to like date back and build the story that way. And then I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. So I'm out. I'm out.
Marvel did the same thing for a while where they just wouldn't put the numbers on the trades.
Bad idea.
It is. They eventually stopped, but it was a horrible idea from everyone.
William Tucker wrote, just say it, you are a Marvel guy. Bro, I haven't read a single issue comic in like 3 or 4 years, except my buddies. I'm not a Marvel guy. I'm not a DC guy. I'm a story guy, and I don't enjoy these stories right now. I as a writer, you know, I would write for DC or Marvel, and I would enjoy doing both. I wrote, you know, call me a Marvel guy for what I wrote for Marvel. I don't read these stories myself. I would, you know, there's great stuff out there, but I don't follow a universe. I'll follow a creator.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you're trying to follow stories, some of them are kind of tough right now. But Pat, actually,
sure.
You're reminding me, some of the people who are in the chat, of course, were here when we did the wonderful interview with you a while ago. But there's a story that you told that sticks with me forever. And it's some notes. You're writing a story for Marvel, and you're getting notes on what you could and couldn't do. And I believe, what was it that they told you? There was something Wolverine or Marvel characters could not drink.
Yeah, it was Tony Stark couldn't drink. No.
They have beer.
Rhodey couldn't drink. It was Rhodey had a beer in his fridge, and it was a scene with just Rhodey, so it wasn't like a thing where like, oh, Tony shouldn't be in the same room with him. No, it was Rhodey alone couldn't have a beer.
Yeah, and what did they told you that beer wasn't part of Marvel or what?
Yeah, beer couldn't be referenced in those Marvel stories, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that I couldn't have the gangsters who are working with Marvel's Mafia, I'm not even trying to say it, Magia or Magia, they can't smoke a cigar or a cigarette, I believe. That one I'm not 100% sure on, but that was one of the notes. And also that if Iron Man does any kind of action that can be perceived as life-threatening, he has to observe that his target, the villain, is okay in text.
I just like a Marvel universe that does not have beer or cigars, which renders Wolverine just useless at that point.
Well, that's why he's been. That's why he let himself die a few years ago.
I would too. I mean, if you go through that, you might. What's the point of continuing to live? You might as well shack up with Cyclops at that point.
Exactly. Also, Enter Sauron has been taken down from OnlyFans.
That's true.
Yeah.
But no alcohol in Marvel, dude. It's the comics probably let it happen because it's different in prose, you know. But they didn't say it in a way that this book is going to be read by kids. They just said that we don't reference that in these stories. And I was like, all right. It's sort of like even crazier to me is I was pitching back in the day. I'm not sure if anyone remembers this company, and God, no offense to this company, but it was APE Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
They did like Richie Rich and Casper, and I was pitching on Casper, and the notes came back on my pitch that I can't reference Casper being dead.
Casper the living ghost.
They said no references to him being dead, no references to like heaven or hell, no references to cemeteries, no visuals of cemeteries. It's like they think that this dude is just like walking jizz. Like he can't be a ghost.
Jesus.
You know?
And he's going to be banned from OnlyFans
Yeah,
too
he
now.
can't be on OnlyFans at all.
Oh no, absolutely.
That's
So that does you got to tell a Casper story at some point where like it's the dark version where we learn that at night, when whatever kids he's hanging out with have gone to sleep, he just goes and like floats back to his grave and goes down into his casket and stares at his rotting corpse, and that's what he does this time.
Yeah.
Be a great story. And Lane is correct, by the way. You
Definitely.
should check out the Jeff Thorne Green Lanterns going on right now. It is a good story. There's some good stuff there.
So I came up with another pun. If everyone's ready, hope you're all sitting
Hit
down.
me, dude. Hit me.
Here's the joke for y'all. I tried to pitch for Casper once, but they ghosted me.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
and none of us will ever host Jeopardy.
We don't have enough scandals to host Jeopardy.
We can make some.
That actually, all right. So scared to even get into this, but I tried to read what he said, and I can't find it. What did that dude say?
I can't find it either. So I spent about 20 minutes trying to dig into what the jokes were. And the best I could tell, he was insensitive toward women, which I can't tell if that was radio talk or something worse, or like, I don't know what actually was said. It seems like if it was really terrible, there's questions about how he got into this executive producer position in the first place. If it's truly, truly terrible. If it's not, then I don't like Bob Saget's still getting work.
Yeah.
He says some things.
It seems like this. It seems like they called him into the room and they're like, listen, we announced you and no one is fucking with this. No one wants this. So have you said anything bad? Have you said anything a little bit bad? And he's like, oh, I don't know, And then they found something and they're like, all right, so this is how you get out. You can keep your job with us. But as far as the hosting, you're done, son. That was a bad idea. They didn't, it's just weird.
You know what? I think I know what the problem here is with how they handled this with Jeopardy. And I'm not trying to sound like an arrogant prick. I think I do have an idea here. They never, ever should have done the hosting thing like it was a contest. And we're going to try out people and we're going to see who really wins. It's like you gave that to people. And then, of course, people are going to look into things and be like, ooh, I don't know this guy wants it. I don't want this guy. Let me look into it. They did it to themselves. That executive producer guy was part of the decision-making for that. He made such a dumb mistake. Never should have done that. If he didn't do this contest, it was just like, I'm the host of Jeopardy now. I don't think it would have been the same kind of problem.
You're right. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's true. People really latched on to LeVar Burton. And people who probably don't even watch Jeopardy,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Come on, it's become this movement with its own legs. All right, cool. But they shouldn't have done this shit. There's one comment here though. Whose dad says it's a bad time to be a comedian. And that's very true. I saw a podcast recently and a topic came up. I'm not even going to say who it is, of a comedian who had a major controversy, and someone who was on the side of he should have lost his job said this. She said he wasn't doing it on stage. He said what he said on his podcast. Those are his actual views. And her co-host agreed. And that to me is the fucking death of comedy.
Yeah.
Just because you're on a podcast and not on stage that you can't joke. No, comedians do bits everywhere in casual conversation. The idea that something has to be on stage to be a produced product, to be a joke, that shows a loss of cultural understanding about what it is to be a comedian. Every comedy podcast that I listen to, people do bits. You guys were just doing a bit before. That's how podcasting goes. Someone says something, you yes and them. You increase and you add information. That's what a bit is. And people don't know what a bit is. That's crazy.
I can't agree more. I think it's you can't expect. I mean, you can't expect these. I mean, that's not a comedian is constantly thinking of material, is constantly working, interacting with people. You're going to say that there's this very thin slice of time in which they can make jokes, and when we're out of that time, they have to go back to other things. And I found at least the one exchange that apparently made people very angry with him, where he was talking to his co-host saying, have you ever taken pictures of yourself? And she says, I've taken like cute pictures of myself. And he said, like booby pictures. And that is, that's the clip that's getting bandied about the most for why he was disparaging.
This motherfucker said booby? He said booby?
He said booby. Yes.
Listen,
like
maybe he's getting canceled because grown men shouldn't say booby. I don't know, dude. Those
people must be thrilled about the OnlyFans news, though.
I mean, it's one of those things too. Like it has to that I can't assess without hearing the context of when he said it. Like for example, like if it was a meeting with like a senator and you brought boobies up to her, like, come on, dude, you're done, you know? But like, if you're riffing and if that's the rapport, that's a different situation. We just don't know. I don't know that because I haven't heard the podcast.
It's well, and maybe there's other stuff there, but it's the two examples that seem to be in all these articles are that one, and then he was making fun, or somebody was making a joke about big noses, and he in Pig Latin made some kind of reference to she's not Jewish.
What?
Because of the nose. Because
that's a pretty dumb joke to make.
I mean, they're dumb jokes.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, Bob Saget, who apparently, according to Sean Murphy, is me. I mean, he did the whole producer's bit that was one of the most offensive things you've ever heard.
I mean, he's a weird case too, because he was doing the most clean cut show of all time while he was also the opposite as a comedian, you know? And that I think that people like if he was doing that shit now, no way, dude. The closest that we have actually right now is the show Atypical has Michael Rappaport as this like really like clean cut emotional father. And then if you go on his Instagram, he's a foul-mouthed comedian, dude. You know, it's like people don't understand that anymore. That you could be two things. That to be a comedian means that you're kind of like always joking. Like, I mean, even me, like when I text with my wife, talk to my friends, I'm serious. Not 100% of the time. Not everything I say is my actual views. Stuff I say is a joke a lot. When I do a podcast, about 50% of what I say is true, you know? It isn't said to be true. It's said to be funny sometimes, you know? I don't know, dude. This is
and it is aristocrats. Sorry, people. I
know what you meant, but the thing is, so many of the people who are upset now about the Jeopardy guy, you know, and look, if there's people who are actually legitimately in their core upset, that's fine. I don't know all of the details and all of that. And maybe if I did, I'd feel differently. That said, I guarantee you, most of the people, if you ask them, what's that guy's name, wouldn't be able to tell you. Sure. You know, unless they were unless they had Twitter open and were looking at it, like, would be able to tell you guys' name. And 2 weeks, a month from now, would be like, what are you talking about? What about Jeopardy?
Yeah.
So like that, and that's the problem with a lot of these controversies and stuff like that. It's a big problem. I mean, so and that goes back to comics. There's a lot of stuff where you could just be like, oh man, you remember like that, like, you know, Killing Joke homage cover that everyone flipped out about a few years ago, and like they pulled that cover and all that. Most people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm
really?
curious
Because I
about-
have all these tweets from you about how awful it is.
Yeah.
I'm curious
Yeah.
about this. So, Pat, these are 3 great covers, right? I mean, we've got Art Adams, we've got Walter Simonson, we've got, I think that is Barry Windsor Smith, isn't it?
I don't like the one on the left, but the rest are good. Yeah.
Okay.
She was like an alien to me, but yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Okay, so here's a little kind of quick trivia question. Which of these 3 characters here is currently the regent of Mars?
The Regent of Mars? I don't even know what that is.
I don't think I don't think people reading the comic know what that is either, but let's see.
Yeah.
What do you get? What's your guess?
I go the guy in the middle, Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Whoever he is. Oh,
That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, why is his head so small though?
Well, he's wearing a hat.
He's been drawn inconsistently, even while Jack Kirby was drawing him in the same comics month to month, was very inconsistent. He would be like, he would go from like being bigger than everyone to like sitting on a couch.
Well, the answer to that is actually Storm, because it makes sense for the character who can control environmental weather to be the regent of Mars.
Okay.
Which is
no
also no
environment.
longer Mars. The planet was terraformed by some mutants who are hidden in another dimension and have changed the planet's name to Araco and made it the new core of the solar system.
What book is this happening in?
X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it? I mean, dude, I'm Team X-Men now. The shit is unassailable. Get it? Do it.
There you go.
Get your ass to Mars.
All right.
Yeah.
So of the next 2, which character do you think is currently married and has 2 children?
I'm gonna say personally, I'll say Thor because that is the guess I would think least of all. So
Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
See, I see what you're doing now. You're trying to
Yeah.
No, it is Ben Grimm. And would you know his 2 kids are actually a Kree and Skrull.
What? Why?
And he's married to Alicia.
Okay. I mean, I'm still stuck on how small his fucking head looks. I'm looking for a big head representation, dude, and this does not fit what I fucking want to see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't really have anything strange for Thor. He recently fought his alter ego Donald Blake, who'd been turned into a serial killer.
Okay.
I like how you said, I don't have anything for Thor, followed immediately by something insane, like you're fucking Rick James on my couch.
Yo, look how big Phalanx is on the screen. Can you guys see or not? Look how big.
Oh,
that guy is.
yeah, way too big. Yeah, they're not showing up in my yard. I don't know.
Jesus. Yeah, I think that Thor's looking good as far as the beard goes. I am offended about the whole small head thing. I've been a big head kid my whole life. It's important to me, to see big heads represented. I realized that I had a very large head, even back then as a kid. I was in 3rd grade, and my class went to the library to watch this film with a different class. And I was, kind of like second row-ish, and one kid turns around, sees me, and goes, "Damn, you got a big head," to me, So ever since then, I've been very, on the big head, the pro big head train.
Yeah,
and this, it's not good to me.
That's fair. That is that is absolutely fair.
Absolutely.
Don't piece,
It's How many titles do you think the Legion of Superheroes have had where their logo has fallen apart on the cover of it?
A lot. I feel like most of them have been post-crisis. Obviously not that one, but I feel like they really leaned into things being miserable after Crisis, and some of it's been great. But yeah, that's what was that. We're in the. Is that this is after the Great Darkness Saga, or is that what issue is that?
This is
292.
This is 293.
293. So, I'm trying to think. Is this right?
That comic has a special preview of Masters of the Universe starring Tila. I watch it. Did you watch the Masters of the Universe cartoon, the 6 of them?
I watched the new one there, yeah.
The new one? Yeah.
This is the Great Dark. It's the latter end of the Great Darkness Saga. I was like, no, it's got to be. It's like, yeah, no, it's right before the end of the Great Darkness Saga. So it's a good comment.
I need more. The problem, because I read and saw all the outrage about He-Man and this cartoon and everything that's wrong with it, and then actually watched it. And like many things, if people have been screaming about how terrible something is and you watch it, it's not as terrible as what people were saying. However,
always
the voice of Tila, who was the voice? Because it's awful.
It was Sarah Michelle Gellar.
It's awful. Like you can't, like, the other characters are more or less doing their thing, and then her voice just is like fucking grating. I mean, I couldn't, like, the whole rest of it was very much a paint by numbers kind of story. But Jesus, I hated that. I hated her voice.
The only thing that took me out of it with that was because it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. So it was just like, oh, that's just Sarah Michelle Gellar being Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like, so that was kind of.
Yeah, I don't mind her. I just the character. It's just it's terrible.
I mean, the problem with it is it sucked, but mostly because I don't know. This is a real hot take, folks, but He-Man was never good.
Dude, that's what I was saying. It's like, listen, what did you expect? Like, come on. If they made it like they made it back then, today, that wouldn't be good either. It's like everything is so much worse than people say it is, and things are also so much better than when people complain about them. It's like it was never going to be the worst, and it's definitely not even going to be good. It's like it's a He-Man show. What the fuck did you expect?
It's a lot like life. Like, people say their life's okay, and it's way worse than that.
There you go.
I desperately tried to. I tried to share, the cartoons I grew up with, the things in the early '80s with my children, and we tried He-Man, and the neither one of like, what the fuck is this? And my daughter's like, they're just running around naked. I don't want to watch this. Why does this guy have a metal jaw? Like, you played with this stuff, you dumbass. And they go back to their iPad, and I'm like, so it was, the expectations were low. It always, I'm with Joe. The problem is He-Man. I mean, it's still He-Man. Like somebody said, Robotech is going to kick He-Man's ass any day.
Oh yeah. I mean, even other shitty cartoons, like, like Transformers. I'd rather watch Transformers.
Or turned him into a Family Guy.
Yeah. But even a lot of the other cartoons at the time, like, a lot of them were still, better. Like, I'd rather watch G.I. Joe, even though, it's not as good as, like, other things in life, but it's better than He-Man. Like,
yeah, I mean, who has ever finished watching an episode of He-Man, wiped tears from their eyes, and went, oh man, like, this shit doesn't happen, dude. Come on.
And in fairness, some people say, I've seen a couple episodes of the 2002 version. That was better. Yeah. I agree. But the original one was shit.
And the comics are fun because those, like, mini comics they did with the cartoon, like the action figures that has, like, they were, like, coming up with stuff that doesn't even match the cartoon because the cartoon wasn't out yet. Like, that's interesting. But,
yeah. No. And some people in chat, Voltron. Absolutely. Voltron was great.
I would much rather watch Voltron than He-Man. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Imagine, can you believe being around people that were so stupid they didn't realize that He-Man was Prince Adam?
Well, the bigger thing was a cat. Like, you didn't suspect that this green cat that seems to be house trained and follows Prince Adam along. And in other sequences, there's Battle Cat, which has the cat slightly larger with armor. Like, you didn't realize that was the same fucking thing that's wandering around. And then maybe the guy who's writing it is the same person, just bulkier. Like, how stupid are these people? They deserve to be taken over by Skeletor.
No, exactly. It's like, it's worse than Superman because at least, like, Clark wears, like, glasses and his hair changes slightly. Whereas, like, He-Man, it's just like, his hair is even the same. It's like Prince Adam is slightly more buff.
No, and
all
right, Ed.
And I don't know what to tell you. You murdered that guy. Sorry, but no. It's I'm talking at a reasonable volume in the home. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. But
whispering. That's my fault. So Ted, so skip over the actual criticism. No, I understand the criticism. The criticism that they advertised a He-Man centric show, and then they proceeded to murder He-Man or get rid of him, and then they made it a Tila show. And that in the beginning, the people, when it leaked or whatever else, somehow word got out that was going to focus on Tila, that Kevin Smith went out there and said, no, it's not. It's totally going to be He-Man. You're full of shit. And then it was about Tila. Yeah, I agree. That's bait and switch. The reason I guess I'm not outraged by that is that's what Hollywood does all the fucking time. And I agree, It's dodgy. I think it would have been way better. And Smith would have saved himself so much trouble if he would have come out and said, yeah, we're going to explore some other characters in the Masters. We've seen lots of episodes about He-Man, so we're going to do 6 episodes about Tila, and that's no big deal because it's 6 episodes, and who gives a shit? But no, I agree. He doubled down. He lied, and that was stupid, and he cost himself some trouble. But fucking everybody lies constantly, and so
yes, that's right. I remember a moment, and lying about fiction improves the experience. That's not valid criticism, in my opinion. In your opinion, whoever wrote that comment, sure, great. But as a writer, right, you have to lie about the story sometimes. A great example for me as a reader is when Brian Lynch was writing Angel, the comic, and there was a scene that people were talking about from the first issue that had a theory going on the forums about how Angel isn't doing anything vampire-esque. Could Angel could he not be a vampire anymore? And Brian then put out a panel from the 3rd issue showing Angel in his vampire face, fangs out, saying, no, Angel is still a vampire in my story. Then issue 3 came, and the reveal is, no, he's fucking not. And that reveal worked because of what he did, because of that lie. Writers have to lie for stories to work sometimes because the fan base is too fucking active. So to me,
that's true.
That criticism doesn't matter. You know, just it doesn't matter. Well, it's a story. The person's trying to protect the story from the audience that wants to rush to the conclusion.
Well, and I think it's at the end of the day, it's what you bring. I mean, if you do need to protect the secrets, and yes, people do lie, and it's not necessarily the lie that's the problem. It's that if you then deliver something substandard, then you're going to get buried for it. If you deliver something that's shocking and exciting, and people are like, "Wow, it's the whole subverted my expectations thing." So you could say that statement all you want, and go for it, subvert your expectations. But if you subvert the expectations and it sucks, you're going to get buried. If you subvert the expectations and it's great, then hey, nobody's going to be shitting on you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I don't know. Or some people will because it's the internet and fuck it. But it is at the end of the day. I mean, her voice was fucking annoying. So, but this there's 2 She-Hulk, 2 John Byrne She-Hulks on one page here.
Mm-hmm.
This was the She-Hulk where she like what the Psycho Master made her cowardly or took away her willpower, and then she eventually got it back and beat the shit out of the guy.
Yeah, that'll do it. And I read the that Marvel graphic novel 18 not that long ago, like earlier this year. So that's still pretty fresh in my mind as well. That was a good story.
Yeah. I do think there's in the world of He-Man, not to drag it back up again, but okay. I had another drink here. One of the things that I do agree, like they made mistakes that I think made Tila more unlikable in that 6-issue series, and mainly because they went to the well too much with the idea that she was not in the know that Prince Adam was He-Man, which again, as we covered earlier, any fucking idiot should know. But and so they kept going back to that. You lied to me. You betrayed my trust because you didn't tell me your secret identity. And it's like, you could do that like for an episode or 2, but like by episode 5 and 6, when she's still dragging that thing around, it's like, okay, at this point, you it's a kid's cartoon. This is an Arby's. Please just order the burger and move on.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I've said my piece there.
For sure. But no, I'm also seeing some talk about the Walt Simonson omnibus in the the Thor omnibus, and I agree with all the sentiments. I agree that it's worth it. Everyone should own it. Don't sleep with someone if they don't have Walt Simonson's Thor omnibus on their bookshelf. And I also agree that I hate the recoloring.
Why do they recolor? Like, who wants that?
I think sometimes the recoloring is they don't have the original colors available and they just have the line art, and then they kind of go like, oh, well, we'll recolor it and act like we're updating it. I'm sure that happens sometimes.
Yes, like it's weird for me because, for example, if they recolored Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore run, that I wouldn't think would be good. But
That's
just to be
the absolutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that. But to be absolutely real, just the Marvel comics that aren't horror comics, the DC comics from that time that aren't horror, I don't like the coloring, as a reader now, because I wasn't reading back then. But at the same time, my opinion is that they shouldn't do it because those books are not for readers like me. They're for the people who already love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's for them. So even though there is an argument that the modern reader doesn't want that, that isn't and shouldn't be marketed toward the modern reader, in my opinion.
No, I get it. I mean, I love when they don't touch the coloring, for a lot of reasons. I tend to just prefer if something like, if that's how it was intended, I like, but I'm also kind of like a general history kind of person, and I tend to like being like, let me see how it was originally presented or intended when I can. But some of it depends on the recoloring, because the problem is a lot of colors now also suck, and it's because, and this isn't across the board, this is just, in some instances you get very muddied, messy colors.
Right.
And I think it would be great to see more digital colorists in certain situations just be like, you know what, I'm going to keep it a little simpler. I think sometimes people, it's like you go a little overboard, and then it's like, ooh, let me detail and render everything. And sometimes on the printed page, it doesn't look good.
No, you're right. I mean, for example, if they did the color palette, for example, of the Fraction Hawkeye run, that has a very flat, limited color palette. Something like that, where it's not so rendered, could look better over older pencils and inks. So yeah, I agree there.
Yeah. And I think, in many cases, these companies struggle to put out trades and omnibuses and other things on time, or even get things in print. There comes a pragmatic part too, where it's like, maybe you guys should just do less work and just put this out.
100%.
Yeah. We're winding down here. I'm not in the practice of this. So, and Stefan just showed up. Hey, how good.
Wow. Hey, what's going on, man? That right there is one of the best creators working today.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
by far.
I can turn around and see a lot of things of his on my shelf right now. So
I think I found him through Top Cow. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what book it was, but I noticed he was doing there, and I was like, oh, wow.
Absolutely, kind of just lively work. It stands out as being extremely unique. It stands out as something that pops off the page. It's just really, really great work. I love it.
It's so incredible, covering topics and stories that people aren't really seeing in any other comics, and also writing characters in a way which is true to real life and also stylized, that we aren't seeing that in comics anymore. We're seeing very topic driven comics, very big idea comics. What Stefan is doing is creating a world that feels like a world that we want to live in for a longer time. It's That's why Sunstone is lasting so long, and these other comics are going 4 or 5 issues and ending forever. It's because people want to keep reading those characters. He's investing in character, investing in thoughtful, well-written dialogue that moves everything forward, that has us thinking about what we just read after the book is done. There are so few books where you close the book, put it down, and keep thinking about it. Sunstone and his other work are those books.
Yeah. I mean, he's done the best with Harleen, I think, or Harley Quinn that I've seen in quite a lot. I mean, managed to take a character that is being overdone a lot. And I mean, just she's going through the Deadpool treatment at DC right now, where everybody's doing something with her. And his series, I thought Colleen's series as well. Both of those brought something new to the character, which was just a miracle in this current moment of just constant regurgitated stuff. So really, really well done. So anyway, high praise for this guy. But I'm pleased. I'm just I want to say thank you to both of you. I feel weirdly out of practice. It's just I've been gone for it feels like a very long time, traveling and drinking some more, and It's,
hey, I mean, it felt smooth to me. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's a very good time. We need we need a better moderator because I'm just I'm out of practice here. And
have you ever given anyone wrenches?
Given anybody what?
The wrenches to the things in the chat to give people like administrative stuff in the chat that they can drop stuff.
I have not. Okay. I probably should.
That's we'll have to talk about it.
Oh, see, I don't even know what I'm doing, but
it's okay.
Anyway, it was a long time and a lot of videos, a lot of content, but it's I want to say, oh, wait a minute, hang on, we can't leave before we talk about this for a second though. The Marvel Comics Super Special Magazine Xanadu.
Well,
here's where I'm going to clear the room out, like get everyone leaving. Like Perfect. We're going to wrap up the show this way. I kind of like that movie Xanadu. It's not good. I kind of like it.
Music, dance, costume, special effects.
I mean, it's fun to like things that aren't good. Things that aren't good are kind of good, like He-Man.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
I'm just trying to
find that right balance.
Like I got.
Oh, what a place to end. Very good. Well,
didn't Gene Kelly die after that? Like that was like the last movie he did. He's like this fucking legend and bisexual icon, by the way. Gene Kelly was like the last there. The last thing he did was Xanadu. I mean, that's up there with like Sean Connery's last movie being League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, that's a hard blow right there.
It's that was oof. Ooh.
But I hope everybody had fun. It was good getting back in the swing of things. And Pat, it's always a huge pleasure talking to you. Somebody was saying before you went on, like you need to have Pat just on every month, and you guys have a chat. We should do that.
Nice.
I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it.
That'd be awesome. And I'm Alive. That's the song I was thinking of from the Xanadu soundtrack. If you got time later, check it out on Spotify. It's not that bad. And also, that's a good John Byrne cap cover over there.
It is very much a good John Byrne cap cover. Well, Pat, you've got some books coming out. Where can people? Where's the perfect place to send people to buy your stuff?
All right. So I just did actually. Speaking of OnlyFans before, anyone who follows these kind of accounts on Instagram, that would have an OnlyFans will see these models have a link tree. You click it and you see all their shit. And I thought, why isn't everyone doing this? So now on my Twitter, you can go there and see my link tree. It has all my information, social media, all that stuff. You can go there, read up on me, see all my platforms. And as far as books, I have School of X in December. That is going to come out from Aconite and Marvel as a prose novel. And what else? I have Kickstarters coming in the next few months or so. I have one in September and maybe one in late October, early November. That's going to depend on a few things. But yeah.
That's awesome. And your X-Men Pros book, you can promise us we're not going to get a Wolverine Jean Grey Cyclops sandwich.
Unfortunately, no. There's there's a harsh limit on what we could do as far as characters that we can include. But if I could, I would do it for you, dude. But unfortunately, no.
Well, I mean, you could if you wrote in the comics, because they are doing that in the comics.
Oh yeah,
Yes, they are.
man. They got to bring me on board. Have some fun.
And Joe, you are, of course, you have Beckstar out next week, number 4.
I do.
You are also, I believe, you're on Thinking Critical tomorrow morning.
Yes.
I am not. Wes hates me now, so like
that's fine. So I got to do that in the morning. But also, I believe Deadbeats London Calling is going to the printer shortly. So the book's done. We have all the art, everything going. I don't know if anyone here backed it or anything, but it's in previews. People can order it. It's a fun musical themed horror anthology. We got Nancy Collins and Bill Loebs in it, who were both interviews we did on this show. We've also got Ron Mars, Jamal Igle, trying to think, this Lila Sturgis. There's a lot of Shea Grayson. There's a lot of good people. Scott Peterson, who was not the guy who killed his wife, the Batman editor from the 90s.
It's important to add that disclaimer there. Yes.
Yeah. I imagine that whenever he introduces himself to someone, he's like, not the guy who killed his wife.
You'd want to put that on your resume at some point, just when you send that out. You're like, not the wife killer.
I'm pretty sure Dean Cain has played Scott Peterson in a Lifetime original movie.
Jesus. And that's the 7 degrees of separation we've been looking for. Everybody, thanks for coming to the chat tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time, and I'm only mostly drunk, and Joe's a little drunk, and don't know about Pat there. But
thank you for the kind words, Lane. And yeah, there's more coming from Joe soon. Lost on Planet Earth. I edited that trade through Dark Horse. It was a Comicsology Originals. It's available now, so you can order it through your shop, get it online. So yep.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming. If you hit like, I think it does something for YouTube. If I get 200 of those, they give me a hand job. So we're going for that.
There you go.
Hitting the like button can't do anything for you anymore. As of today, they banned it from the site.
Oh, damn it!
It can't. No, I'm joking. I was going with because OnlyFans is doing something insane that makes no sense.
There you go. No, that one's good. It's sad that it's in the realm of they did, huh? But yeah.
No, it fits.
Well, they used to do a rating, wasn't it? A 1 through 5. You had to you used to rate videos. It wasn't just the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, it was a star system, and
they had to dumbify it.
These companies are debating things like, should we remove likes? Should we remove follower numbers? And it's just just fucking grow up, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Stupid. Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for coming, and we will see you. Well, I mean, you won't see me because I never show my face, but I'll talk to you next week.